Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Let's get it. G. Bush in his early 1990s Cleveland Indians swag.
Vintage.
Earl in the Lamb-Made sweatshirt. Earl, what is Lamb-Made, by the way? Tell the people.
So Lamb-Made is my brand. It's my personal baby. Started it in 2020 when I was in Ohio Media School. Sometimes, man, God tell you to just do something, even if you don't know what the end result is going to be. So, like, when I started this was just a platform for me to write articles when I was in school, give me something to do. For sure.
Yeah, let's see that.
For sure. And, like, it got double meaning to it. So, you do your genealogy.
Yep.
My family are Native American Blackfoot Cherokee Indians. So the broken arrow is a sign for peace. It's one of the Blackfoot Cherokee signs for peace. And then Lamb-Made, man, I'm from Cleveland, born and raised. So
Shout out, listen, man. Shout out to Earl and his Blackfeet. Shout out to the Iroquois Nation. Upstate New York, we in the building. 25%. I got the DNA test. I got it. I got the DNA. Not me, but it was my grandmother. But so I had to 23andMe. Shout out to them.
that's a nice jacket, though.
Hey, listen, listen. This boy, listen. This is a hand-me-down. Let me just tell you this. My uncle
Who's big enough to give you a hand-me-down?
that was kind of funny. That was real funny. That was some funny stuff, right? This is my uncle.
Jesus said he was gonna hit me.
Now watch this. Watch this. Now look. Yeah, my uncle who passed away, he gave me this.
Gee, come on, bro.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Yeah, like for real, like he gave it to me. Like,
It is fly.
Yeah, like he was a really big Indians fan. Went to every opening day.
Starters jackets need to make a comeback. I feel like that was like the look, and I've seen a couple old
I had the Packers starter jacket.
vintage, like old Cavs starter jackets recently. The black and blue, the Gundarina, which is still my favorite Cavs color scheme when they had the light blue and the black. But starter jackets were a staple of every guy's wardrobe back in the day, and now I feel like it's a retro kind of vibe. Tyvis has a couple, but
yeah. Tyvis, listen, we're not gonna speak on Tyvis's gear. Tyvis has to get on here and speak about his own gear. He lost the battle last year. He came in here looking like Tupac with a bandana and a Versace dish rag, and this dude lost that battle. He just lost, like point blank. I'm just confused, Tyvis. Where you at?
well, Tyvis just turned 30. G. Happy belated birthday on Friday, Tyvis.
Shout out to you, by the way.
Enter the 30 Club. Speaking of birthdays, real quick, it's my sister's 29th birthday, so happy birthday, Becca. Shout out to you over in Germany, who's probably not watching, but still, I did my due diligence.
So it's your sister. So what goes with McNuggets fries?
See,
We're gonna move on.
you see, look,
We're gonna move on from that real
listen,
quick.
hide your sister from everybody. It's like, she's not allowed to talk to black guys. Leave me alone. He got that face like, I just hid.
You're outnumbered out there today.
Hey, don't you talk about my sister, man.
Hey, she's
So happy
in
birthday
Germany.
to Sister Lucas, man.
Yes.
Hello.
God bless you, man. I wish you well.
That sounded like
29?
one of the deacon's wives. Sister Lucas?
Sister Lucas.
Sister Lucas at Mount Olive
Hey,
Baptist.
y'all know something crazy? Like,
What?
I'm the 5th Earl Malden in my family. And
Are you really?
Yeah, and my uncle is a deacon. Deacon Earl Malden.
Are you guys? But you're not a junior technically, are you?
Nah.
Okay.
So,
That's
like,
crazy.
yeah. So, like, you know, my great-great-grandfather, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, my uncle.
When was
and
the
me.
first Earl Malden in the family?
It was my great-great-great-grandfather.
So this has been since this is 3 centuries worth of Maldens now. Earl
Yeah,
Maldens.
so.
Yeah, y'all,
Damn.
do you got like a burial plot? Like, do you got where like you got a plot where just all the Maldens go right here?
My family, the Malden family, is from Bluefield, West Virginia, and there's actually a hill in Bluefield called Malden Hill.
That's crazy.
Are there any other Garretts in the Bush family?
No. It's just one and only. It's G. Bush. That's it. All the rest of the names, I'm not gonna say they come below. But
I'm the second Anthony Antonelli. I was named after my grandfather,
Nice. What's your dad's name?
Bernie.
Bernie?
that's crazy.
Bernie Antonelli is such a swag
Bernie
name.
Antonelli.
How did
Well, I
I
guess
know you
it's
for
Bernard,
18 months
but-
now? I didn't know your dad's name was Bernie.
Yeah, it was Bernie. You just called him Mr. Antonelli, didn't
So,
you?
like, is Bernie short for Bernard?
Yeah.
Okay, I figured.
Bernard Antonelli sounds like
Bernard Antonelli.
Yeah,
He
that's
sounds like
regal.
he sounds like an underboss for the Colombo
The
crime
Antonelli
syndicate.
crime mob.
When you guys, We got a big show on tap for you guys. One more thing, though, before we get into a lot of content. We got a lot of Browns and Cavs content to get to. We'll talk to Jason from Arizona for some spring training. A lot of stuff to get to. But real quick on names. When you guys were creating characters in Madden or NCAA or 2K or MLB The Show, did you have like a go-to name you always used?
Yes.
What was yours?
So so I got 2 games. Shout out, we used to have a dynasty. Shout out to my man from North Carolina, Gavin Richardson, a.k.a. G. Rich, a.k.a. the richest in charge. He was a quarterback. He had the dreadlocks and the visor, stayed for 3.5 years. He was getting that NIL before the NIL. And then Omar Chase at defensive end, Oklahoma State. Omar Chase was the first dude to run a 4.4 at the combine, got drafted by the Eagles. Shout out to my man
Sound
Omar
like a
Chase.
Spanish gangster.
He does.
Like we was deep into it. We was heavy into it. And there was a guy, shout out to my roommate Chris Foreman, by the way. He used to have this safety called his last name was Mac. And he used to sing the Return of the Mac song, right? We was like, there's no reason why I should remember that, but yes, we did have names.
Earl, did you have a go-to staple name when you were creating a player in any of those video games?
It was just always my first and last name.
Oh,
But,
you were one of the ones who made it yourself.
Yeah, I just always made it myself. See, like especially like when I was playing NBA Live before 2K, because I always lacked hoop skills. And so that was the game to where, yeah, I'm definitely going to be Earl Morgan. I'm about to be the hooper that I always wanted to be, that I never could be when I create this player.
That's
so.
how you know it's not a real athlete. When you got to use your own name.
Yeah, for sure.
And did you ever go to, or did you not play those kind of games growing up?
Wait, I completely missed what you were asking. I'm sorry.
When you were creating a player, either Madden, 2K, college football, whatever game, did you have a go-to default name you always made your?
Oh, I use my own name for those. Yeah. Like, I just got Madden 24, it's my own name.
I mean, Anthony was playing.
Wait, you created a player in Madden 24?
Yeah, what position did you play?
Yeah, I'm a quarterback right now. I am 4-1 with the Minnesota Vikings.
So you're not a Brown?
I just let it draft wherever.
I'm surprised he's not a Bronco. I expect him not to be a Cleveland Brown.
That's fair.
I expect that.
Anthony, you, I can't believe you got a dynasty. If you look like you carry around like a 6-sided dice for D&D.
I bet you
he does play D&D.
I bet you At was the first person, like with Pokemon, he was the first person to ever take Pikachu and beat Charizard.
Hey, listen.
Like he found the cheat code to beat Charizard with Pikachu. I bet you he did.
People don't know.
You can ask him.
I didn't play the first generation until I was in high school. I started at Generation 3, so they weren't in that one.
You see how he had a dead straight face? Like he's not playing with y'all.
No, listen, when you start talking anime, Pokemon, cartoons with Anthony, his tone changes from
for sure.
Nice, low-key Anthony Cantaspelli to I'll rip your head off in these games. And before we jump into topics today, who brings us today's show?
Today's show, as always, is brought to us by FanDuel. You guys can get buckets on your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets. You got same-game live parlays, exclusive prop bets, and plenty more. You guys can visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to shoot your shot. FanDuel, the official partner, sportsbook partner of the NBA.
All right, so we're going to talk about the Browns' rookie class and where it was graded by NFL.com. Today we're going to talk about the Browns' defensive championship foundation, a continuation of our conversation yesterday on the offensive side of the ball. We'll talk some Cavs, we'll talk some Guardians, we'll talk LeBron James, but we'll start today with the news out of Tampa Bay. Mike Evans and the Buccaneers did not come to a contract extension. They are unlikely to use the franchise tag on Mike Evans, which means there's a chance he'll hit the open market as a free agent. G. Bush, you are the captain, the leader of Operation Stockpile. And the big thing here is if Mike Evans was to hit the open market as a free agent, should he be priority number one this offseason for Andrew Berry and the Cleveland Browns?
If any receiver hits the open market, it could be your cousin. If he hits the open market, I want your cousin on my roster, running around, running little switch option routes as a slot receiver. Of course. The answer is yes. Operation Stockpile, this is the best part of the season. This is the part of the season where I can, in my head, add pieces and parts to the team, and they're going to be great. Think about this. Amari Cooper and Mike Evans, Now, when I think about the Browns going into Arrowhead or playing the Ravens or playing the Dolphins, I can say I got Mike Evans and Amari Cooper. Can you imagine the professional routes they would run on people? Could you imagine the type of up top skill set that they got? 13 touchdowns last year, 1,200 yards. I memorized all his stats. I believe it's 79 receptions. I want all parts of my... I don't want all parts, but I just want parts of his game to transfer to the Browns right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, so for me, like, look, I get it. You know, what's the cons? We'll hear a lot of them. He's going to want a bag, right? He's going to want a bag. He's a little older, a little longer in the tooth. Maybe you think he's going to, I can hear Adam the Bull saying, I just don't like it. Receiver's 31 years old, fall off the cliff. And Jay sitting over there, I can't agree with that right now. And I just hear what they saying, and Jason Lloyd, he just got the frown on. He just, I don't like nobody. But me, we in here on G Bush Takeover. We get to talk about all the fun stuff, and Mike Evans is the top receiver, the top thing that I want to talk about today, Earl. Tell me why I'm crazy that I want Mike Evans.
Well, no, you're not crazy, and 31 ain't old, right? So, like, he'll be 31 when the season starts. You're not crazy at all, as you alluded to. 1255 exact was the yardage total for this year.
Sir.
13 touchdowns. He done went over 1K in each of his 10 seasons. Listen, Mike G, we're not in a position to turn down nobody if they was to hit the open market. But like you said, realistically, I don't believe he's going to hit the market. But if he does, you know, definitely to bring him in. And if you decide to bring him in as somebody else as well, cool. I know Mike Evans is the topic, but like my number one choice would be T. Higgins. Mm-hmm. Number two would probably be Mike Evans, but I think both of those are unrealistic. Some realistic options that I have: Calvin Ridley, 29 years old.
I'll take him.
Went 1,016, 8 touchdowns last year. Michael Pittman Jr., 26 years old, went over 1,100 yards, had 4 touchdowns.
Take him.
And then Gabe Davis, of course, who was in Buffalo with Ken Dorsey. Yep. 24 years old, coming off his rookie contract, 746 yards, 7 touchdowns. The thing about him, he's had at least 6 touchdowns in each of his 4 seasons in the NFL. And so I would love, and I can dream and fantasize about having Mike Evans on this roster as well. I just don't think realistically that's going to be the case.
Yeah, the reports at it. Oh, first off, I'm in Jay Crawford's seat.
Okay,
okay.
so
I'm in Jay. So
you got the numbers.
I got the numbers, and I know if I was Jay and I was really channeling my energy, I'd be like, gee, I don't like that, man. But I ain't Jay. I'm McNuggets. So I'm going to tell you why it's probably not going to happen, because I can't imagine a world where he actually leaves Tampa Bay. So for the sake of this, let's pretend that there was a giant falling out in Tampa Bay and Mike Evans is the free agent market. T. Higgins would be the perfect ideal candidate just based on age. He's young. Yeah, similar skill set. Yeah. But I do think Mike Evans is the absolute perfect complement on paper in terms of what he brings as a receiver, his skill set, his mentality, and his leadership capabilities to add into this Browns offense. Couple things. First off, 10 seasons in the NFL, 10 1,000-yard seasons. You guys want to hear the whole list of receivers who have started their career with 10 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons?
Here we go.
Mike Evans.
Boom.
That's the list. That's it. Nobody else. Jerry Rice has 14,000-yard seasons in his career. That's the most ever.
Wow. So he
tied for second, Mike Evans and Randy Moss. Those are the only 3 receivers in the history of this league with 10,000-yard seasons. So the production's there. Is he slowing down? I don't know. He had 1,255 yards and 13 touchdowns to lead the NFL last season. I don't think he's at a proverbial cliff where he's just going to go from 13 touchdowns, 1,200 yards to 6 and 6. He's too good. He's 6'5". He's 230. In the red zone, could you imagine the plethora of weapons Deshaun Watson would have to throw to, or it's Kevin Stefanski, Ken Dorsey, whoever's calling plays would have in their arsenal if you had Nick Chubb to hand the ball off, David Njoku with the inline tight end spot, Amari Cooper on one side and Mike Evans on the other side? And mind you, I'll repeat it again. Mike Evans is 6'5", 235 pounds, and one of the best. He boxes guys out. He uses his body well. One of the best tough ball catchers in the league. He doesn't run a 4.6. He doesn't run a 4.7. He's also not a 4.3 guy, but he gets behind defenses because he's a smart, savvy, veteran receiver. We talked about last year the Browns receiving core, right? Mm-hmm. You have Amari the tactician. Mm-hmm. You had Elijah Moore the slot guy. And before the season started, you had DPJ and Tillman as your big receivers, your big physical receivers, right? Well, DPJ, to steal G's word, Minimowski. Got traded to Detroit. What's worse than Minimowski? Nothing ski. He was nothing ski in Detroit.
Okay.
Cedric Tillman had a chance to show what he did, and he played okay. I'm not selling my Cedric Tillman stock, but it's not like he blew anyone out the water. You add Mike Evans to that mix, and that physical, big, dominant, demands a second team, double coverage, at least a look in the red zone, on top of Amari Cooper and Njoku and whatever they have in the backfield, plus Deshaun Watson's legs. I think on paper he would be the perfect fit in this offense.
I think if you can find a way to financially get it done, you get it done. I really don't care about his 40 time, right? You know, I think great wide receivers have the ability to run routes, and if you're a great route runner, he's fast enough to be able to get open.
He gets behind.
So, like, I agree with everything that you just said. You know, we talk a lot about this year being the prove-it year. Mm-hmm. We've talked a lot about this year, the offense being totally made over. Damn near every coach on the offensive side of the ball is totally different. And so you be able to bring in a weapon like this to try to open up the offense more. You heard Deshaun Watson say in one of his podcasts this last month, we're going to be throwing the ball, and we're going to be throwing the ball a lot.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. You know, you need to eventually go get a guy that's not David Njoku to complement Amari Cooper.
Well, I never understood this. I never quite got it. We saw what Baker Mayfield was able to do, right? You had Godwin. You had Mike Evans.
Mm-hmm.
Shot White out the backfield.
Yes. They have weapons. Baker was able to take you to the second round of the playoffs, right? Mm-hmm. Now, everybody that thinks that Baker is not some crazy franchise quarterback, but you see what you can get if you got the weapons. If you're going to put all this pressure on Deshaun Watson, which is rightfully so because you want him to perform, why would you not give him all the materials? Like, it's like people think that we get extra credit points for just saying, you know what, our franchise quarterback made everybody better and we didn't have to do nothing else. That's lazy. Like, if I'm going to be on the show, I want somebody else to come up with some hot fire lines. Yeah. I want the best producers and directors. Why would you say your lead host has to make everyone better and you got kids coming out of middle school joining them on the set and he got to do everything? No, I need top-notch weapons, and that means you can go and compete at the highest level. And everybody needs to stop saying this. Well, Patrick Mahomes does it.
He's 1-on-1.
That's it.
He's 1-on-1. You can't
say that.
You can't compare Josh Allen. You can't compare Joe Burrow, Deshaun Watson. None of those guys are Patrick Mahomes.
No.
And just because Patrick Mahomes did it does not mean that's the recipe to copy and paste across the rest of the NFL. And G and Earl, you guys just alluded to this, and this was the next point I wanted to hit on. Not only is this a make-or-break year for Deshaun Watson and the Browns, but with their cap situation, their championship window with this current iteration of the roster. Now we've seen with the Chiefs. Just because one window closes doesn't mean you can't open the next one up immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They traded Tyreek Hill, immediately opened another championship roster. They won 2. So I'm not saying their only chance to win is this next season or next 2 seasons. I'm just saying with the current iteration of this roster, where Bitonio's getting older, Chubb, Teller, Myles Garrett's not entering his prime. He's in his prime on the back end. In this current iteration of this roster, why not go all in? And I understand you can't get everybody. Gee, I love the idea of Operation Stockpile. You just can't pay everybody. But if you can, and whether it's Evans or another big-name free agent receiver, whoever becomes available, I think you got to go out and make that swing and give these new offensive coaches, Deshaun Watson, Kevin Stefanski, alleviate some pressure off Nick Chubb so you don't need him to rush for 1,500 yards in his first season back from catastrophic knee injury. Give them as many options as possible to make this offense not just coherent, but explosive and dynamic, and most importantly, consistent. And that's where a guy like a Mike Evans, to your point, a Gabe Davis, a Calvin Ridley, whoever it is they end up bringing, I think we're all in agreement they'll bring someone in. But the championship window with this current iteration of the roster is really this year and maybe next year, depending on their financial situation. And then they'll rebuild, and that doesn't mean become bad again. That just means rebuild the foundation of their roster. I think we talked about it last year, G, pushing all your chips in. If they didn't do it last year, I don't know how you don't go all in this offseason.
You got to. And sometimes I think we stuck. I did a little bit on the Ultimate Brown show the other day. And I said, let me look at yardage-wise, let's look at the top 5 receivers of all time for the Cleveland Browns. And the problem was...
Wait, can we guess who they are?
Sure.
Earl, you're the Browns guy.
So we going just straight wide receivers,
Wide
right?
receivers.
Top 5 yardage of
in
all
their
time.
career.
Of all times. And their Browns career?
Yep.
All right, so in no particular order, and I know this is probably going to be wrong, I'm going to say Paul Warfield is on that list.
No.
Webster Slaughter.
No.
Paul Warfield not on that list? Webster Slaughter?
Josh Gordon. Was that one season good enough to put him in the top 5?
Amari's on that list?
No.
Oh, my goodness. We're terrible.
These people all played like during World War II.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
These guys.
this is a pre-modern era Browns.
These are guys like Gary Collins, Dante Lavelli, Mac Speedy. These are your Ozzie Newsome, who's a tight end. These are your top receivers. Anytime your top receivers, you put the picture up and it's black and white, you got a problem, bro. Like, black and white TV and pictures have been gone for centuries.
Yeah.
And we put those up, and those are our guys. And then you think about it, I just said, wow, like, how, could you do that to any other team? I'm watching guys like Andre Johnson get into the Hall of Fame. Reggie Wayne get into the Hall of Fame. And it's like, wow, I saw those guys playing, and we still didn't have no receivers. And you go back to the 80s and be like, well, who was really Andre Reed, Curtis Lofton, and Jerry Rice, and we still didn't have no receivers. Like, we got all the way to the 2020s, and we finally got Amari Cooper. But you could argue that Amari Cooper, if he goes to the Hall of Fame, or if it was the Hall of Very Good, his best years was with Dallas. He's only been here 2 years.
Think about it like this, though, because we talked about this a little bit yesterday, that Andrew Berry is going to have to change his approach to how he evaluates this position and how he goes about acquiring players that play this position. No more 3rd, 4th, and 6th round picks at wide receiver, right? Your best acquisition at wide receiver came via trade when you went and stole Amari Cooper from the Dallas Cowboys. And so to me, I could see him possibly going out there to trade for another wide receiver. You know, we talk a lot about Gabe Davis, but hell, you might go trade for Stephon Diggs. You never know how that might work out. I think that because of how badly you've missed in the draft, you need to swing big in free agency and go get a wide receiver, because the one thing that is working in the Browns' favor is that for the last couple of years, you done had a lot of veterans playing on 1-year deals. Mm-hmm. And so I don't think the salary cap is going to be as big as an issue as people might think it is. And you can always manipulate the cap if there's a player out there, right, that you really, really want. And so when you couple everything that we're talking about, the fact that we know he's been bad in the draft when it comes to going to get wide receivers, and we clearly all believe that this is a make or break season, you need to go in free agency and you need to go out there and swing big to go get you a big time primary playmaker that can take some pressure off of Amari Cooper.
So let me ask y'all this question. You know, I play devil's advocate a little bit. How many years are you willing to give Mike Evans?
So that's obviously the elephant in the room with the whole receiver discussion. And that's why I keep coming back to Gabe Davis as the guy I think at the end of the day
probably make the most sense.
Will be the most realistic, affordable guy that the Browns want. I think he'll end up being the Browns' big acquisition at wide receiver. I think for a guy like Gabe Davis, who's 24, 25, does he turn 25 by the start of the season, or is he
I can look that
just
up.
turned 24? Whatever he is, they'll go 3-4 years. The guy like Mike Evans, just based on Andrew Berry's track record and knowing the deals he's given out to guys at that position, in general to free agents in that age range, I think he'd want to go with a 2-year deal. But I think Mike Evans would get a bigger, more years and a bigger total number in terms of guaranteed money from another team that would be willing. Like Carolina, for example. If you're Carolina and you have all this cap space, or a team potentially like Chicago, which I don't think makes as much sense, but we'll use Carolina, for example. Ton of cap space, Bryce Young, no receivers. Why would you not be like, all right, Mike Evans, here's 4 years, $100 million, $25 a year, to come finish your career in Carolina, help Bryce Young become what he is. The Browns just can't offer that kind of contract. So in my mind, I think realistically, the best the Browns would offer Mike Evans is 2 years, and that may not be enough to get him. But Jimmy Haslam's willing to pay up front, and that's the big difference in some of these. The sign-in bonus they could up over some other teams, and that might be a differentiating factor in the Browns' contract proposal versus a team like Carolina or a team that's not willing to spend as much up front.
Yeah, I would
Because he is 31. To Earl's point, he is 31.
I would think that he would push for a third year,
I think so too, yeah.
third year, like for a guy like Mike Evans who has been the model of success, like you said. He's gonna go into that office and be like, look.
He's a Hall of Famer, by the way.
I done did this 2 years in a row. Like, this ain't nothing new to me. And you point out what major injury I've had so far. Now, here's the devastating part. It's one of them things where you be like, man, I'm going to go get this 2016 Chevy, Earl. Mm-hmm. It looked nice, but when you checking them miles out, you could pull that off that JD Byrider, and guess what's going to happen? Engine light check, come on. Check engine light, come on. Doom, you looking around. If he was to get hurt and that was their main guy, because I always naturally assume that all these dudes going to get hurt. It's the Browns, they all going to get hurt.
Mike Evans in his 10-year career has never missed more than 3 games in a season, though.
And
it is just worth pointing out.
Right.
He has been very durable.
And let me be clear about Operation Stockpile. By no means necessary does this mean this is the only receiver they're getting. Operation Stockpile means I'm getting one named receiver that is proven. I still need to go get another secondary guy that I can maybe mold or possibly draft a guy with speed.
Let me ask you a question, Earl.
What's up?
As of today, it is 11:26 on February 20th. This could change in 20 minutes, but for right now, Andrew Berry does not have a contract extension. Mm-hmm. Do you think, and I just thought of this, maybe it's a longer discussion for another day, but we'll use this in terms of Mike Evans for this specific discussion. As of, once again, 11:26 on February 20th, Andrew Berry does not have a contract extension. This is his last season. Do you think the fact that he doesn't have long-term security will affect the way he approaches a potential free agent negotiation with a guy like Mike Evans, where maybe he'd be willing to go an extra year on the back end, even though that's not his MO, because all chips on the table, this might be my last year. If that's what I need to do to get Mike Evans,
That's a good question.
I got to do what I got to do.
I think it will play a role in how he goes about carrying himself this offseason. If he goes into free agency, which it looks like he will, without a contract extension, then yeah, it's going to change how aggressive I am. I am going to be more aggressive than probably I was in the past. We've always known Andrew Berry to be aggressive anyway. Mm-hmm. So imagine somebody that's already been aggressive, kind of like leveling up a little bit more, being willing to kind of like, swing for the fences a little bit more. Like the Browns are set to get their first round draft pick back in 2025. But we ain't had one in so long. Well, if Andrew Berry seen something and he looked at it like a sweet lick, it wouldn't surprise me if he traded the 2025 first-round pick. But if it brought back a player that can have an immediate impact and can help the Browns reach their ultimate goal this upcoming season, then it was all for it. Like you said, you're not operating under the premises that you're going to be here past this upcoming season. So you got to go all in.
Is that a fair question, G?
That's a very fair question, and I'm going to tell you exactly what the answer to that is. Yes, it changes things. Let me give you an example. I was in my previous marriage. We was going to counseling and everything, and she came home one day and hit me with you know what? We already had one rental property. We came to the spot. She like, you know what? I think we should get another rental property. I don't know about that, dog. I'm almost a free agent. Like we right now, we both about to be free agents. Why would I go in here and support and put 25-30% down on another house that I might not be even getting none of in a divorce proceeding? No, Eric Spoelstra, you're a smart man.
the heat to him, right, by the way. The heat to him, the biggest solid. Do you know what happened?
No.
Yeah, tell the story.
So Eric Spoelstra and his wife of a long time separated this year.
Okay.
The day after they separated, Miami gave him the biggest coaching contract extension in the history of the NBA. They specifically waited for the divorce papers to be signed, finalized, and complete so that once they were split, that money was his and not theirs.
Like, shout out to Pat Riley. That's what I need. That's a good employer. I love that about you, man. But that's going to change the way Andrew Berry do, because he might not see a second deal. Like, that's why I always, like, human nature is human nature. If I got everything riding on this and the whole thing is moving and I need to put my best foot forward, you going to get one of the, at least this the way it works in Cleveland. For the most part, when you go and spend that bag, people give you credit for it. They give you credit for being aggressive. We'd rather see you, strike out swinging instead of sitting up there and watching the third pitch, right? No, so get your cuts in, dog. At least if you go out and say, listen, we wanted to get a receiver, we went and did it. We did it when we needed to do it in the next couple of years because we thought that was our window. He's not only going to get the benefit of the doubt from our fan base, but if they don't sign him back, it's a better look for somebody else going to get him and said, I like what Andrew Berry did. He was aggressive in Cleveland, got a raw deal.
I'll just tell you guys from my standpoint, and we'll discuss this more in depth another day where we all got a little time to think, but if we have one show left to do, we have one final UCSS show, I got a whole list of just random content ideas on my phone. I've had Earl and Ant make graphics for stuff that we haven't even used in 2 weeks yet.
You see that Mike Evans graphic?
Right.
I made that.
Don't start with
Hey,
that.
I had to catch myself.
I had
to catch myself.
Nope,
I was about to cuss.
That's not from the day that's not because that day's no receivers. So I know that's not from the day you're thinking of.
Y'all know the picture of Travis Kelce, like in Andy Reid face. I'm using that all the time. Man, this man made me make 15 graphics 2 weeks ago that I still ain't used.
I didn't know Bill Callahan was gonna go to join his son that morning.
He had him in the tuck.
We're gonna use it. It's coming Friday though. It's coming on Friday.
We still have not done the Njoku bucket game that I made 4 months ago.
My man made
Njoku's only come on once. That's
what I'm saying.
He made 7 montages the same day I made these 14 graphics. We ain't used none of that content yet.
Well, G,
we sitting on it. We sitting on it like a cat, like Birdman. Like we on Cash Money, and Birdman won't release the album because he's mad at us or something. This is what this is.
When they come in Friday and they have no work to do on Friday, and they're like, "Ooh, I get to sleep in, come in an hour late." Y'all can thank me then.
Look, wait, hold on, because on the same day, on the same day, he thought he was, because on this same day was the same day as the debut of the Ultimate 216 show. Dude gave me 28 graphics. On the day, I'm nervous out my damn mind about doing this show, and I'm sitting up here like, he has no regards for human life.
I was waiting for the perfect panel to do it, and with the rotating cast and vacation, we haven't had the right panel back.
I make the graphics, and then Callahan move on. He says, yeah, we're going to probably use this another day. I say, no, we not. No, we not.
I feel so bad for Earl for doing his job, man. I feel so bad that Earl did
the
his job.
sad part about it is I did all that complaining. I knocked it out.
He finished it. He was done by 9:30. He was all good.
I was going to say, he was done before I was.
We're going to move on. What's up?
Moving on, guys. I just want to remind everybody that if you're looking for tickets, I'm known as the tickets guy here at the UCSS, so I'd be ashamed to tell you guys, or if I didn't tell you guys, about Game Time. Game Time, it takes all the guesswork out of buying tickets. If you're trying to go to a Cavs game, to a Guardians game, they show you the picture of where your seat is, so you have no guesswork about where you're going to be sitting. You can download the Game Time app, you can create an account, and then you use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Simple as that. Go use Game Time to get all of your tickets. It's fantastic. As somebody who has every ticket app possible on their phone, it's my favorite by far.
Well, you should tell me how much. I want to sit on the floor. How much does that cost?
We're going to do it Friday, G. We're actually going to do the Game Time.
Yeah, we have your game show planned out Friday.
So
don't worry.
Oh, so y'all got graphics for that too. Y'all good.
Don't worry. We're working on it.
I did use the Game Time app to go to the Cavs game on Valentine's Day. Worked to perfection. The $20 off code works. They don't ask you questions. You just put promo code locked in, $20 off your tickets. Highly, highly recommend. Yesterday, we took a little gimmick from the Moving the Sticks podcast with Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks. If you guys haven't listened to their podcast, very insightful on the overall NFL coverage. And they were looking at the championship foundations of certain teams, and they broke it down into 4 categories. And we got the initial tag board to show the people to base it off. But essentially, this is what we did yesterday. This is the initial tweet here. They broke down player by player, whether it's a blue, which is a blue chip player, green, which is good, yellow, which is either age, injury, or contract concerns, and pink, which is young/unproven. So those were the 4 categories to keep it in. And yesterday we had some discussion. We don't love their category choices per se, but to keep it in line with them so we can compare with their answers later in the week, we're going to stick to those 4 categories. On offense yesterday, and if you want to pull back the offensive one, we gave the quarterback situation a yellow, which means injury, contract, age concerns. Same for running backs. There was a nice discussion. Earl had the running backs in the blue chip category, but he was outvoted. The receivers were unproven and young. The tight end room was a blue chip group, and the offensive line was green. So we're going to continue that today on the defensive side of the ball. And Earl, let's start with the defensive ends.
Let's do it.
And keep in mind, guys, these are just players on the roster now. This is not projecting for the start of the season. This is based on the current roster construction at the moment. Defensive ends, is that a blue chip group, a good group, a yellow, you have concerns group, or a pink, young and unproven group?
I put them in a blue chip group, right?
Interesting.
And the reason, like, I had to make sure I wasn't being biased because everybody know, I'm a homer. But no, I put him there because Myles Garrett is already great. He's great. And I think Ogbo and I think Zadarius Smith are good. But I also think like McGuire and Wright, these is young dudes that got a lot of upside. And so if I have somebody that's great and I got two players that I consider that's in the good category, and then I got two dudes who they're young, but I feel like their trajectory is this way, then collectively to me, that's a blue chip grade.
Zadarius not in this, by the way. He's a free agent.
Now see, when I did this list, I went to the Browns website and he was still there.
He was still on. He was happy to be
still there.
Well, let me jump in real quick because I think it's blue chip even without Zadarius. And here's why. And then, G, if you disagree, let us know. Myles is as deep blue as it gets. Like, he is the ultimate pinnacle, number one. It's undisputed defensive player of the year. He is as good as a defensive end as you will find in the league. And even if you take Zadarius out of it, I think Ogbo's good. I think Alex Wright showed me enough that I think he's good. Okay. I think I am buying all the Alex Wright stock for next season. I think I would not be upset if Zadarius Smith walked because I think Alex Wright could step in and give you that same production, if not more. I do think he's ready. And Ogbo stays as your third defensive end. McGuire got in late in the season, showed a little promise. I know he was banged up, didn't play a ton. But I think you got a legit blue chipper, two guys who I feel pretty strongly are at minimum good, if not progressing up that ladder. And then McGuire's young and unproven, but I like the talent. You got Myles Garrett in two greens. I think that's on the low end of blue, but it's a blue. You got Myles Garrett. I'm not sure how you can make it not a blue.
Yeah, I made a good point because I was gonna go into this thing and make it a green. But when you guys break it down and you start talking about what they already have, I think that it's more along the lines of more blue than green because of the fact that Myles Garrett is there. The defensive tackles, if you sign Maurice Hurst back,
D-tackle's own category.
So that's their own category. So DNs, you still, if you can start with Myles Garrett, I mean, you got to have pink players to bring it down, right? You got. We're
gonna get to some groups where that's the case, by the way. We're gonna talk about that later.
But I like Zadarius Smith. I think he played above average last year. I like Alex Wright. He showed me some things down the stretch. And I like Ogbo. Now, he's more of just a regular pass rusher, but I still like him. I would say he's a green player, too. So I think given the fact that you start with Myles Garrett and you continue to move and you think you got some young guys that can do something, I will roll with a blue, a light baby blue, the same color as my shoes.
I kind of look at this as like a recruiting class in a way, right? And Myles Garrett's the 5-star plus. So you have to have some 2s and 3s to drag that down.
Yeah.
And if you want to say Isaiah McGuire's pink and unproven, I'm not going to argue. But then you still got two greens. And I think when you average that all together, it's maybe on the lower end of blue.
But it's still blue.
But Myles Garrett is so damn good in his own right. It's still an overall blue category. And the Browns last season, even though their sack numbers as a totality in the defensive end position wasn't through the roof outside of Myles, they generated a ton of pressures. And when you look at the end of the day, we all want sacks, but I think we've learned and evolved as a football speaking community that sacks isn't the only stat that matters. It's pressure rate. It's how much do you affect the quarterback. And Zadarius, I know he's not necessarily in this, but Zadarius, Alex Wright, Ogbo, and Myles, of course, all had tremendous analytics in how quickly they got to the quarterback, how much impact they had on the opposing quarterback in terms of making his first read, and/or having to pivot off that first step, find his second option, and then making him move out of the pocket. So at the end of the day, you got Myles Garrett. You're going to have to argue me that it's not a blue chip group, but I don't think anyone's trying to make the case that this is a yellow or a pink.
No.
So we're all in agreement. And blue chip for the defensive ends. The defensive tackle, G, this is your bread and butter. How would you grade the Browns' defensive tackle crop?
This ain't no blue chip. This is more like it's a green. You know, I think they're good. I like Shelby Harris. You probably can bring him back on a one-year deal. Maurice Hurst, you could probably bring him back on a short-term deal. I like what Tomlinson gave you in spurts. He's a good defensive tackle. I thought Jordan Elliott played a lot better than what he, had shown previous to that. So for me, I like the room. Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to be a blue chip everywhere. That's just what it is. And I think it's fine if you can go with good, right? If you got blue chip DN mixed with green, that's good enough right there. Especially if you're gonna have a defensive player of the year. So I would go with the green on this one. Now, could I nitpick if somebody said, look, to me it's yellow, given the fact that, hey, Shelby Harris, okay, but he's a 1-year guy. He's not young. Maurice Hurst got injured last year. Dalvin Tomlinson's a nose tackle, so you're not going to get much production in terms of sacks or anything from him. So I would go with that as yellow. Now, I wouldn't be mad at you. I would just say that given the way that the defensive tackles played last year, and if they bring those guys back, I would lean more towards a green than a yellow.
I definitely would be mad at you if you said it was yellow. To me, it's green because if you look at this position group, I think what's dope about this group is not a single player that's considered a defensive tackle that you would say is a top 10 player at their position. Tomlinson probably falls somewhere between 15 and 20. I think same thing with Maurice Hurst. But what I found to be really, really cool was out of 130 defensive tackles that was ranked by PFF, 3 of those dudes finished within the top 57. And so collectively, as a unit, I think they're very good. I think Dalvin Tomlinson is really good. I think Maurice Hurst is really good. As you alluded to, Shelby Harris, right? Agent veteran, contract situation. And then you have Siaki Ika, who was a rookie last year, played in 4 games, really didn't make any noise. But overall, I think it's a very, very solid and serviceable group. So I had to give it a green.
All right, so either I messed up or you guys messed up. Because I have it as pink. Because they have 2 defensive tackles on the roster. That's it. We weren't including free agents here, so I didn't take Harris. I didn't take Hurst. I didn't take Jordan Elliott into consideration.
Do you think they're not going to bring any of those guys back?
But the assignment was today, looking at the group, the position group today. And I know with linebackers, Earl, we're going to get to, the linebacker room's kind of empty too, and I don't want to give my answer away now, but I gave it a pink because you got Dalvin Tomlinson and Siaki Ika, and then you got the Will Smith meme standing in the room by himself like, where y'all at? So I didn't, in my evaluation of this, because they're currently pending free agents, I didn't take Harris into consideration. I didn't take Mo Hurst. I didn't take Jordan Elliott. And if I'm just going off Dalvin Tomlinson and Siaki Ika, Dalvin Tomlinson is about to turn 30 years old, G. He was fine this year. He was perfectly fine. I don't think he was great. I thought it was okay. Serviceable, solid. You take that every day of the week, but I didn't think he was anything special. And Siaki Ika played in 4 games. I don't recall him making a play. Maybe he made a play. I don't remember. He was stuck behind some good depth. I'm not saying he's a bust by any means, but I don't recall him making any impact plays. So he's obviously young and unproven. I think Tomlinson is somewhere in that green-yellow range. I do have my concerns just because he's 30 years old, defensive tackle. He makes a ton of money, but he's a good player. So I went with pink because I just don't know who the hell else is going to be in that defensive tackle room. It could be Elliott and Harris, and I'll feel a lot better about it. It could be 2 guys we haven't even spoke of yet. We haven't really dug into the defensive tackle free agents like we have receivers, but I was looking at it as the current roster today, and if you don't have Harris, Hurst, and Elliott in that conversation, I don't know how you graded anything higher than a pink.
So let me give you this. Assuming, I think this is not a leap of faith, assuming they get 2 out of the 3 and re-sign them, then, and for me, this is any 2 out of the 3.
Yeah.
If they get 2 out of the 3, they'll be green.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. I gave them a pink because I wasn't considering them in this exercise.
Yes, okay.
You guys were, so I think we're kind of saying the same thing, just in a different way.
Yeah.
But
in a different time frame.
So let me ask you this real quick then, because would you, for the sake of this, you gave it a green, you gave it a green. I would give it a green if they signed 2 of the 3. Take them out. Are you guys all in pink?
Yeah,
if you place it like that,
you can give us a pink or a green, whichever one you want to go with.
I went with green.
Green, perfect. So we'll go with green. Let me ask you guys this before we move on to linebacker, because linebacker's a similar situation. They don't have a ton of guys under contract, so we'll do 2 answers. If you had to say today, and it's unfair because we haven't done the research, but they have to sign at least 2 defensive tackles. Do you think it'll be 2 guys that were in the system this year? You think it'll be one new guy, one guy who is in the system, two new guys? Who do you think? I don't need names, but where do you think these two defensive tackles will come from?
I think it's going to be 3. I think they're going to re-sign Jordan Elliott. I think they're going to re-sign Maurice Hurst. I think they're going to trust the development of Siaki Ika. And then I think either via free agency or draft, obtain another defensive tackle that way.
I would lean that. I like what you did right there. Maurice Hurst, I think he was in the top 10 for defensive tackles, recorded PFF for pass rush grade.
Yep, he was.
I think they'll sign him back. I think they'll bring Jordan Elliott back because he's developing. And, you know, I was on Jordan Elliott a lot, but, you know.
He was awesome this year.
He was
really
did
good.
great. So I think they bring him back. I think they let Shelby Harris go. Siaki Ika will get more of those minutes and those playing time. And then they'll probably go look at a free agent, see if they can get another bargain defense tackle that way. So I agree with Earl with that.
I would love to see Hurst back. I'm not sure if his injury history will prohibit the Browns from taking another flyer on him, but he was phenomenal here in Cleveland. He loved Cleveland, too.
See, my thing with that is, like, this the NFL. Players going to get hurt.
All of them.
And so, like, to me, I try not to worry about the injury history, quote unquote, right? Because Denzel Ward, for example, man ain't never played a complete season, but when he out there, he a dog. So if I know if I got Maurice Hurst 10, 11 games, cool, you did your thing. I can't afford to, in this season in particular, I can't afford to not sign or re-sign a good football player because he might get hurt.
I think it depends how you feel about Ika, though. Because if you think he's ready to play,
how can Ika be ready to play, though? He only played 4 games last year.
That's what the evaluation period, what they have to determine this offseason. But if you trust him to be a guy you can count on, then I think the guy you bring in that Hurst position, that third rotating defensive tackle, can be a guy like Hurst with higher upside, but you may know he's going to miss 6-7 games a season just based on his track record. If you don't think Ika's ready to play, then maybe a guy like Shelby Harris, who incredibly never misses time, would be a guy you look at because you just need that depth, that body there who you trust. So I think that's kind of what Barry has to weigh this.
I love man, Earl, you done had some gems, man. You done had some gems today. I'll give you credit for that. I like that. I like your your theory about injury. I think the new going rate right now is you got to break it down into like waves. Like if you think a player could give you 10 games, you say okay, that's average, right? If he give you 10 or 12 games, you're like, oh, that's good. I'll take 12 games. If he can give you 14, excellent.
I feel like if you play 14 games now, that's a successful season.
Very successful. Like, you know, you're going to get hurt. All of them are going to get hurt. It's just what it is. I don't know why. And it's weird because we never thought about it like that before because, you know, everybody's like, oh, he has durability issues. Like, ain't nobody playing 17 games running into nobody else, like, and not playing. You see what I'm saying? Ain't nobody playing 17 games. It's impossible. Like, especially, and then be injured, and then go into the playoffs and play all the playoffs too? No, it's just not working. So if you can give me solid 10 games, I'll take that as a win.
I just think, like, with him in particular, he continues to show how good he is when he is healthy, right? And I think the Cleveland Browns, man, Operation Stockpile, you want to, like obtain and then keep as many good football players on your roster as you possibly can. And Maurice Hurst is one of them. And you just players get hurt, so you just going to have to deal with that.
I mean, it's part of the evaluation.
Yeah,
it's another thing you check off on the box.
Right.
Given all things equal, you take the guy with less of an injury history, obviously, but a lot of times it's never equal like that. So
yeah, I can remember, man, true story. And, G, you might remember this. Remember Gary Baxter that played for the Baltimore Ravens? So, like, Gary Baxter used to be a dog, right?
Man.
And this was, like, one of the first big, like, free agents that the Browns had signed. Dude didn't have no injury history, none of that. And I think he ended up blowing out both his knees or something like that on the same play.
It only takes one injury.
On the same play. So it's like, I hear what you're saying, and it is a part of the evaluation process. But anytime somebody say that, I always go back to Gary Baxter. Like,
it ain't funny, and I don't know why I do this every time the story come up. But it's just like, I just can imagine the man coming down and his whole lower body giving out on him. Like,
Yo.
how is that possible? Your whole, like, below the waist, you're just done. Like, that's crazy.
Like the Browns had gave him a pretty
They gave him a
decent
bag.
bag
Yeah,
too.
especially for back in the day.
But he was worth it. Like at the time that they gave it to him,
Yeah.
so I'm like, man, we didn't got us a lockdown corner.
No, you didn't.
and there's a difference in like a guy being injury prone and being injury plagued.
Freak
like,
injury.
like what happened to Nick Chubb, that doesn't make him injury prone. That's a freak accident. There's just other guys who always seem to be dealing with a sprained ankle or a nagging shoulder or whatever the case may be. But there are different levels to injury issues.
Like LaCharles
injury
Bentley.
problems, yeah.
Shout out to LaCharles Bentley, man. He was an all-pro center for the Saints. All-pro.
Very first
we
snap.
We signed him Cleveland Kid, Ignatius
Training
Kid.
camp.
Very first snap
Of training camp.
OTAs, gone.
Career over though.
Crazy.
Like
Yeah.
just the entire career.
Like, what? Like, that's crazy.
It is what it is. And we're going to linebackers next. I'll start because I'll give you my grade I gave, and then I'll give the grade I would give. I gave this one a pink as well because right now the only two linebackers under contract are JOK and Diabate. And JOK, I have him in the highest level of green. You got to do it 2 years in my mind before you're official bona fide blue chipper. So he's the highest level of green. Diabate had a promising rookie campaign on special teams. We didn't see him a ton on defense, so he's just unproven to me. And I don't know who else is in the room, but I expect them to re-sign Taki, add someone else in depth, and I put that in the lower tier of green. But until they do that, I have it as pink, but that's that pink-green, depending on who you want to consider for this exercise.
Go ahead, Earl. I'm looking up the name of this dude that
So you said pink, green. I kind of had it like pink or yellow, okay? And I'm considering the same things that you considering. Like Jock is the best of the group.
Stud.
I'm going to go yellow because my gut instinct says they're going to re-sign Taki for the same reasons that we just talked about. You want to keep good football
What about
players.
Walker? Will they re-sign Walker?
I think
too?
it's time to move on from Anthony Walker. I think the whole being a locker room presence thing, like, and I'm big on that, but at the same time, if that's the only way that you can contribute, we already got dudes in here that's savvy veterans that's respected in the locker room. You're not producing on the football field. You can't get on the football field. Injuries happen.
So his injury concerns are valid in your mind.
I mean, last year, right, there were people arguing he had a top 5 PFF grade and the man played 3 games.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's different strokes for different folks. You know what I'm saying? Maurice Hurst was more impactful for the Cleveland Browns defense during the time that he played, in my opinion, than Anthony Walker was. That ain't no shade to Anthony Walker. I just think it's time to move on. Same for Jacob Phillips, right?
He's definitely gone.
I mean, they tried with him the entire time he was on his rookie deal. I think they're done with that situation. I think Taki is coming back. It'll be interesting to see how they address this linebacker position. But I can't believe we saying this a year later, but it's Jock and everybody else.
It is Jock.
It's Jock and everybody
Diabate
else.
is the only other guy under contract right now.
I like for the record, I like Diabate's.
And Tony Fields. Sorry, and Tony Fields. I apologize to Tony.
Yeah, shout out to that's special teams. That's special.
He technically is considered a linebacker. My bad.
Listen, there's some names. Devin White that they just basically sat down in Tampa Bay. They moved on from him, right? You know, didn't really. He's one of the better guys in coverage, not so much in the run game. But you're looking for linebackers. There's another guy that I really, really like. He's 1 year, almost all year from ACL surgery. Jordan Brooks out of Seattle.
Yeah.
Like Jordan.
Great run stuffer.
Nice run stuffer. Like him a lot. Run defense is good. Coverage grade in the box isn't that great, but he's a good linebacker and he's a 3-down linebacker. I think you move on from Anthony Walker. He's just his body, can't, his body, betrayed him a little bit. He's been hurt the last 3 years. I think Taki is one of the more important signings just because he's going to give you special teams, and his move to Mike Backer to me is his best position. Tyvis talks about it all the time, and to me, JOK is sometimes you ever go to. You'd be in middle school, you go from middle school to high school, and there was the girl that you used to play football with, and she was a tomboy, and then she get to high school, and you'd be like, hold on, what happened to you over the summer? That's JOK. Like that, like go put them numbers up. Like when
He had an unbelievable
100 and by the way, if you want to talk about the Cleveland Browns defense, that guy was the only guy that showed up against the Houston Texans. Yep. He made play after play after play after play. 20 tackles for loss, 100 tackles, 3. Listen, these all-pro numbers right here. And guess what? I think the light went on for him. The green light went off. I think next year, I'm telling you, look, I'll let you know. Like, I know we like about that guy next year can put up a year where if you're talking about he gets 5 sacks, come on now.
Not Taki. JOK's 20 tackle for loss, second most in the NFL. Max Crosby led the NFL with 23. He played 342 more snaps than JOK this season. So.
Oh, by the way, I'm going to give it – I didn't give you the score. I just was talking. I'm going to give him a yellow.
So 2 for yellow on the linebackers and Ant. So 2 yellows means yellow is the official color for the linebackers. Let's move to the cornerbacks. Safety is its own category. Just the cornerbacks. Earl.
Blue chip.
You're wearing blue. G, you're wearing blue.
Blue
I'm
chip.
wearing blue.
Blue chip group.
Can we all go through quickly on this one?
Yeah.
I think it's all a blue chip.
Blue chip.
Blue chip. All right, and give cornerbacks a blue.
Yes.
If not the best, one of the top 2 or 3 best cornerback groups
yes.
in all football. That's a blue chip group. Denzel, Emerson, Newsome, and even Cam Mitchell all showed out. How about the safeties, though, G? You could go a lot of different ways with this. The concerns, depending on what you value and look at.
Group.
It's a good group. Is it a blue chip group? Is it good? It's definitely not young and unproven. So where do you fall, G?
Hey, man, your man, he got a good number, but that's about it. Shout out to my man Thornhill, man. You look great on game days, but I was expecting some more plays, dog. I know Jason Lloyd talks about he has good pursuit angle. That ain't getting it done on your Madden rating. Like, your pursuit, and your pursuit is a 97. Well, what's your tackle then? Like, he was hurt a lot. I got it at a yellow. I don't really see, like, it is a position. Look, he's reaching a lot. Like, there's a lot of reaching going on. No body-to-body contact. This is like a middle school dance. Like, this is
what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
It's like the 4th time G's referenced middle school today.
Middle school was like, back in the day, they used to be like, whoa.
Did you run into your middle school sweetheart or something?
No. I didn't have one back then. But they'd be like, no, don't you be, what you doing? What y'all doing? They didn't even play certain songs. I'll give it a yellow. I like Ronnie Hickman.
He tripping.
Rodney McLeod.
It's a green to me. I'm gonna tell you why it's a green to me. Grant Delpit is on his way to being a blue chip player, right? And I think that Juan Thornhill didn't live up to the expectations coming in. That's a fair assessment. But I don't think he played god awful. And then what I really, really like is DeAnthony Bell and Ronnie Hickman. I think you kind of like came up on 2 really, really young safeties that have a lot of upside and seems to play very well in Jim Short's scheme and system. So much to the point to where if the Cleveland Browns moved on from Juan Thornhill after this year, it would be because of how well that DeAnthony Bell and Ronnie Hickman has played. So to me, it's a good group led by Grant Delpit. He has some injury history. He has some injury concerns. But when that dude is on the football field, he has shown that he has elevated himself to a top 10 safety in the NFL. I think Thornhill is good enough, and I love the upside of both Hickman and Bell. So
you went green. G went yellow, which means I'm the tiebreaker here. The gentleman to my right, G. Bush, made some compelling points. Mm-hmm. I didn't think Juan Thornhill was the game changer the Browns brought him in to be this season, but I thought he played okay. I thought he was solid. He did what he was supposed to do. He didn't make any extraordinary game-changing plays, but he was solid. Grant Delpit, I thought, was on track to be a Pro Bowler this season.
Mm-hmm. Injured again, which goes back to the yellow category. They pay a lot of money to their safety room, which brings up some contract concerns. Is it all worth it? We'll find out this year as Delpit comes back from injury. But at the end of the day, this is one of the position groups I didn't love just having these 4 categories for because I thought there's kind of a middle ground. But I went with green over yellow because of what the gentleman, 2 people to the right of me, said, and that's Hickman, Bell, Thornhill, and Delpit. If any of those 4 are on the field at any given time, I'm not like, oh no, we got a weak spot in the secondary. We got a glaring weakness for somebody to attack. And as a safety, in the most simplest form of your job, is the back line of defense. Mm-hmm. Keep everything in front of you. Don't be the one to give up the catastrophic play.
And we saw when Thornhill was out against Baltimore in that first game, when they had McLeod come in, he was serviceable, but he gave up that one slant route across the middle, terrible pursuit angle. That's something that Thornhill didn't do. Tyvis pointed it out, and Coach Tyvis. I like Delpit. I really like the potential of Hickman. I think that could be a potential undrafted free agent steal down the road. And DeAnthony Bell is perfectly serviceable as a fourth safety. So when you look at the big picture of it, I think it's a good. I don't think it's great, but I think it's a very talented and productive safety.
Okay, I'll change my pick to unripened bananas.
It's in that in-between category, which we're gonna do before the season starts, after free agency. We'll go through. We're gonna change the categories, so we'll make our own UCSS version of this.
Yeah, we should.
And we'll give it a little more defined roles to the groupings, but there'll be more than 4. It'll be like 1 through 6, where you could have they're good, but I'm not sure how good. You know what I'm saying? We'll do a little more. So, Anthony, run us back through the final results of our defensive championship foundation.
Yeah, you guys gave defensive end blue, defensive tackle green, linebackers yellow, cornerbacks blue, and safeties green. And then from yesterday, you guys gave the QB yellow, running back yellow, wide receiver pink, tight end blue, and O-line green.
I feel pretty good about that. All in all, I feel pretty good about that.
I like it.
Awesome. All right, and before we grade some rookie classes, what do you got on deck?
Yeah, Mike, so you are doing an Ultimate Cav show tonight at 6 o'clock with Jason Lloyd, even though he is on vacation over at spring training. I almost said spring break. He probably would rather be at spring break. Why don't you tell us what we're talking about tonight?
Yeah, 6 o'clock tonight, not 5, 6
Zinger.
o'clock. We're dealing with Jason on the West Coast. It'll be at 6 o'clock. We're going to dive into what's real, what's not real about some of these Donovan Mitchell trade rumors. We're going to talk about some expectations for the Cavs in the second half. And we have a third topic that is still TBD, depending on what Jason wants to talk about. I sent him a couple options. We'll see. But the big topic today, trying to find what's real and what's not in these Mitchell trade rumors. Getting to the bottom of that with Jason Lloyd, who was the first person last year to put that report out there.
Why at this point, why would there be any question about a Donovan Mitchell trade?
I'm not trying to get us to go down this rabbit hole.
No, we're trying to unravel the truths and the untruths. Who's putting out what information?
Yeah, we got
Who's
rookies
coming from
next.
what?
I'm not going here, but I just, until somebody said I didn't talk to Donovan Mitchell myself, and Donovan Mitchell said he's not coming back to Cleveland.
Players don't lie.
I'm banking on, I mean, whatever. They lie,
Players
they don't lie, but all this just unnecessary speculation. Enjoy Donovan Mitchell while he's here. Appreciate the fact that he's being a constant pro while he's here, that he's representing the city of Cleveland, that he's not throwing it in your face that he might possibly want to go play somewhere else. The dude shows up every single day to come work, play his ass off, and put the Cavs in the best situation to have success, and we put energy towards him possibly leaving here 2 years from now.
Yep, which is why we're going to get to the bottom of the truth tonight, 6 o'clock on the Ultimate Cavaliers.
That's a
show.
tease. That's a tease.
Yes, it is. And set us up for this next topic here.
Yeah, guys, so NFL.com decided to grade Andrew Berry's rookie class from 2023.
They graded all the NFL rookie classes.
They graded everybody, but we landed at 23 with a class grade of C. And I want to know, do you guys think that's fair with all of our rookies that played today? I want to remind you that only one of them didn't start a game, and it was Siaki Ika. Everybody else at least started one game.
Earl, do you want to start here?
Can I see the list?
Yeah, absolutely.
The
Steve
top
can take
5 was Houston number 1, Pittsburgh number 2. Anytime you want to throw it up, Steve, so I'm not going off that, but it'll be phenomenal. Number 3 was the Rams, the Lions were 4, and Green Bay was 5. And then if you skip down to the next one, Steve, the teams by the Browns, so these are the classes in that same conversation with the Browns. New Orleans at 20, Minnesota at 21, Indianapolis at 22, the Browns at 23, and the New England Patriots at 24. So
I mean, I think an overall C grade when you combine every rookie is fair. I'm looking at the individual players on this list right now. I mean, Ronnie Hickman, DeJuan Jones. Those are the dudes that I'm looking at that really had impact. Outside of that, ain't nobody else really do nothing at all. So, I think a C is warranted. A C is right where they should be.
G?
I could have went down a little bit long. Cedric Tillman didn't give me nothing. DeJuan Jones was the one that made the hit, and he made the splash. But nah, man, I can't give it no higher than that. DTR, I know we like DTR. Cam Mitchell, okay, cool. Luke Whippler. Yeah, nah. Listen, they could have if they wanted to be cute, they could have gave him a C-. If you really wanted to get cute about it, because Juwan Jones is like, okay, he played, but he didn't play the whole entire year. Some of the other kids got an opportunity, not kids, but they grown men, but you know, they got an opportunity. Some of the young guys got an opportunity to play, but it wasn't no Zay Flowers.
Yeah.
Like these other cats be getting dudes with thousands of yards and all these sacks, and we just be having, once again, medium sock game.
So when I first saw this article and Anthony sent it to me, I was like, see, they had DeWand, they had Hickman, 23rd. Like, how many rookie classes were better than hitting those two? So I went into the article and I read, and this is the exact quote by NFL.com on why they gave the Browns a C, why they were ranked where they were. And I quote, "Injuries hit the Browns rookie class hard. The C grade is a reflection on the overall lack of production, but I think most of the players have promise if they're able to stay healthy in year 2 for a team coming off a playoff berth." I 100% wholeheartedly agree with that evaluation and assessment. You look at the guys who played. DeWand was awesome when he played, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Got hurt, couldn't stay healthy. Tillman, he did play. Production was right? I mean, was anyone blown away by Cedric Tillman?
I don't think the production was good. I was going to call it for what it was.
It
But I do.
He has flashes and showed promise, but
Dude got potential to be good. It
Yeah.
just wasn't there. The route running is the biggest thing that he needs to work on this offseason.
and you see rookie
That's
receivers.
bad if that's what you do for. That's like being like, hey man, yeah, I'm a production guy. Hey, he need to work on his graphics though.
I mean, look,
Just do
everybody needs work.
96% of your job.
Yeah, it's different.
But in his defense, though, we done seen worse. Brian Robisky came here from Ohio State, which has always produced wide receivers before it was called wide receiver U. And your daddy was a wide receivers coach, and you couldn't get off the line of scrimmage. So I'll take Cedric Tillman's issues. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's teachable, and like I said, he showed flashes. But you see a lot of rookie receivers come in, have immediate impacts, and not just first-round picks, but guys all throughout the draft are able to come in and produce. Tillman had his opportunities. He wasn't on the same page with Flacco. I'm not selling my Tillman stock, but I'm certainly not buying it in the same with the same enthusiasm I was last year. Ika and McGuire didn't really get a chance to play. They were stuffed behind a talented defensive line rotation, so they get a pass. Cam Mitchell, I thought, looked pretty good against Chicago, but once again, behind the cornerbacks on the roster, tough to play. DTR looked okay before he got hurt, but once again, got hurt. Hickman may be the steal of the draft, but overall, like, we saw flashes from the group. DeWand Jones in stretches looked dominant. Ronnie Hickman, for a game or two, looked like one of the best safeties in football. Cam Mitchell made a phenomenal fourth down stop against Justin Fields in Chicago. Tillman, whatever. But on a week-to-week basis, the overall production just wasn't there. So I think a C isn't just fair. I think it's kind of the perfect evaluation of the Browns' 2023 rookie class, with the caveat that if these guys can stay healthy, they should be bigger contributors and better players in year 2.
I mean, to that, for with that all that being said, like, I'm interested to see what year 2 look like for Cedric Tillman. I think DTR is going to end up being a very good quarterback. I think Isaiah McGuire is going to be a good defensive end. Can't wait to see what what Ika will bring us. But like you said in the article, I mean, from the production we got, Hickman in 7 games and DeWand Jones in however many games he played, that's the cream of the crop. And so, like, if they were a B or a B plus, unfortunately, it's dropped down because everybody else did absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So.
And injuries, I don't want to bring up the injury bug for the 10th time, but
Yeah.
none of those guys.
Yo, Houston's rookie class was
Yeah, it's good.
cooking.
It's good. Gee, what were you going to say?
Oh well, yeah. They just need better. They gotta have better talent. They just gotta keep getting it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Whatever way you gonna get it, like in the draft is, and people used to say back in the day that was our Super Bowl is to draft. What we're starting to learn now is, man, if it don't do you no good to have all the picks if you ain't hitting on some of them. And for the Browns because you said it earlier in the show, they're gonna have to start rebuilding to a point where they're gonna have to get some guys. Maybe a Luke Whippler is a guy that they can use to, piece here and there if they gotta let one of the guards go. But they gotta hit on some of these 3rd, 4th rounders, or they can't afford to just go get all free agents. They gotta hit on some of these dudes.
Let me ask you guys this, and we'll move on to the Cavs. Which rookie from the 2023 class do you expect to take the biggest jump from the end of this season to the end of next season? Which player are we going to be like, rookie season was okay, but or even good to great? But which player takes the biggest jump from rookie season to sophomore season?
If DeJuan Jones went from what he went to an all-pro, whether first or second team next year, it wouldn't surprise me at all. I think that dude played well enough to see how good he can be. I think he's seen a little bit of his own potential, and I think he'll be motivated behind that. That's the biggest steal of this entire draft, right? Because for the longest, he was touted as a first-round pick. You know how like at the end of the draft the previous year, they always show the big board for the next year. He was right there in the top 10 prospects, right up in there. So that dude can go from what he went to this year to an all-pro player next year.
Are you saying biggest deal in the draft for the Browns or just overall?
For the Browns.
Okay.
Yeah, he'll.
So take Jones up. He'd pick Jones. Pick someone else. For the sake of this.
Let me see. I think Ronnie Hickman can start right now. I think if they said, you know what, Juan Thornhill, thanks for your contributions, but we're gonna move on with somebody younger, I wouldn't have no problem with Ronnie Hickman now. He just needs to keep his eyes in the right place and be more disciplined. But for him to play at that rate as an undrafted free agent, I think he's going to take another step too.
Only problem with that, though, because me and him had this conversation, the money really want to allow you to move on from Juan Thornhill into next year. Because even if you moved on from him past that June designation,
still paying a lot. Yeah.
I think you're still paying almost damn near like $11 million or something.
He'll be on that roster.
It makes more sense to keep him.
Yeah, so.
If you want to move on. My guy, though, and maybe I'm infatuated with one game, and maybe I'm blinded by a 4th and 3 tackle on Justin Fields, but I think Cam Mitchell's a really good ball player. Like a really, really, really good ball player. And I'm not sure exactly what the Browns have in store this offseason. They have to make contract decisions on Greg Newsome. They have to start preparing for a Martin Emerson extension. He's on a great 3rd-round contract now, but that dude deserves to get paid and will get paid by somebody. I think Cam Mitchell's a guy that the Browns are going to have to take a deep, hard look at to see if he's capable of being able to step into that starting slot spot that Greg Newsome's currently occupying, or rotational on the outside. But he's a guy, I think, who got minimal time as a rookie. That could be a big factor in the secondary this season.
No hate. I mean,
don't go there. I know where you about to go.
Hate.
Don't go there.
You don't like Cam Mitchell?
No, I think Cam Mitchell.
I think he's really, really good.
I think he can play that position.
Are you going to say they're going to trade Newsome?
I think
that's the
that
replacement?
the only one of the biggest. See this. I've been eyeing this for a long time. When you gave the big contract to Denzel Ward, then when you got Emerson and you accidentally hit on him, and that happens in the league. Sometimes you get a 3rd-round guy, he's a gem, and all of a sudden he outplays where he was drafted at. Then you could draft a Greg Newsome. You say, ooh, we got to move you to the slot. Here's one thing I do know. There's no way all 3 of those guys are going to be on the roster, given them a premium position like corner, and given the fact that Greg Newsome is going to get offered a 5th year. So your thing, you got to decide, it's either Newsome or it's Emerson.
The decision is made.
And
the
it's already
decision
done.
is made. MJ Emerson, I think, can be elite. I'm trading Greg Newsome if I can to San Francisco. Give me Brandon Ayuk. I know he's gonna have like a year left on his deal.
They're not gonna do that, but
this dude had a whole scheme ready.
No, look, just hear me out, y'all. Hear me out, right? Maybe I'm playing bad right now.
Yes.
But I'm calling John Lynch. I'm like, hey, what's up, John? How you doing, bro? Nothing. I'm cooling.
What's up, baby?
I'm chilling. So
Nice.
look. I know y'all just went to the Super Bowl, lost again, a pack.
I'm hanging up.
No, don't hang up. Just listen to me.
Hold on, you got 30
listen to
seconds.
me.
30 seconds.
So I know you got some good DBs, man. But listen, you gonna come up into some contract like situations yourself. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and take Greg. Give me Brandon. You pay him. I pay Brandon. We just move on. Call it even. Cool.
Newsome and a 2nd-round pick for Ayuk.
I give you Newsome, and I give you a 3rd this year, or Newsome and a 3rd this year, or in the 4th next year.
Well, I got 3 other teams offering me a 1st. I need at least a 2nd this year.
I'm gonna call you back. I gotta talk to Jimmy first.
Right. I think that's the realistic Ayuk situation. They're gonna get a 1st for him. But in general, if the Browns want to figure out a way to get into the 1st round or acquire a proven legitimate talent at receiver, I think it's the Newsome 2nd-round pick combo. That is their most attractive trade combo they could put together to acquire some sort of talent. Is it worth it? I don't know who the player is. we'll see. But the second-round pick plus Greg Newsome is their most attractive trade package.
And then I'm going to get that kid from Oregon in.
What about Cortland Sutton?
See, I don't.
Cortland Sutton is a little older. He's a little older. I get it.
Them Denver receivers.
I just don't like that. Yeah.
Them Denver receivers.
Hey man, Sutton catch touchdowns and he really don't drop the ball, man.
He's big too, big guy. But we'll see. Ayuk though is worth it, 100%.
For sure. Now, look, I got my boy thinking.
No, I would do it in a heartbeat. I think Ayuk's an absolute freaking stud, first team All Pro. Like, and he's 25.
Yeah.
You do that. Like, Sutton's not first team All Pro. I'm not sure if Newsome plus.
No, I'm just saying, but hey, listen.
I am all for it. If the Browns have some way of acquiring Brandon Ayuk this offseason, I'm all in. Ant, what's up?
Yeah, guys, before we move on to the Cavs, I want to remind you all that you can get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. You guys can bet all different ways with quick bets, live game same parlays, exclusive prop bets, and plenty more. You guys can visit fanduel.com/UCSS and you can shoot your shot over there. FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA.
Was that an ad lib or did it really say shoot your shot?
No, it says shoot your shot. Reading that
says
word
shoot
for
your
word
shot.
right there.
Oh.
I was going to read it tomorrow when he's producing the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. You'll see for yourself. You can bet on Cavs games. You can bet on any NBA game. You can bet on anything with FanDuel. Make sure you send us the winning tickets, and we will feature them on the show. Let's talk a little Cavs now before we welcome in Jason Lloyd in about 15 minutes from spring training. The second half, and yes, it's not technically the second half of the season. It's not the last 41 games, but after the All-Star break, it's the second half of the season. Just bear with us.
Right.
Second half of the season, guys. Anthony posed the question to us. How much tinkering, how many changes do you want to see JB play with the lineups and rotations before the Cavs get to their postseason stretch? Earl, I'll start with you. Do you want JB to be aggressive in mixing and matching? Do you want to see him stick to one? How much tinkering should he do?
I want to see
JB
JB Bickerstaff get creative, think outside the box, and come up with a plan to where you continue to work on your current starting five, get that solidified, make sure these dudes' chemistry is right. But now you start to deploy all these different lineup variations so that you can counter whatever any team throws at you come to playoffs. You alluded to this a lot. It's a much different game once you get to the playoff. The game slows down a lot. The defense gets much tighter. And every single game, the opposing team pick a player who they're going to try to eliminate, right? And you might run into a situation to where Donovan Mitchell is not on, to where Darius Garland is not on. You got to have all these different lineup combinations and variations to be able to throw at an opposing team to be like, you know what happened to us last year will never happen again. Oh, y'all going to do this? All right, cool. Let me get my 1A out here. Oh, y'all doing that? All right, bet. Let me get this group out here. Oh, y'all think y'all slick with this? It's cool. We was working on this with this lineup as soon as we came back from an All-Star break. So I think that knowing that, I believe that the Cavaliers is going to finish the season as a top 3 seed, right? And I think that as you journey along, locking up a top 3 seed while stabilizing your starting 5, I think is necessary for you to try all these different lineup combinations so that you can throw anything at an opposing team come playoffs.
G. Bush, what say you?
There's 2 things I need him to figure out. I need their version of a death lineup. In the playoffs, there's going to be some times where you are going to want to exploit certain matchups, and you're going to need to put up some points in a quick fashion. I need them to figure out their 3-point death lineup where you got, maybe Isaac Okoro playing a 3, whether Sam Merrill is in there with Donovan Mitchell, as well as if you got a Strus, Sam Merrill, Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, and one of the bigs. And can you get that lineup to where you now have an opportunity to play and maximize your 3-point shooting ability? Also, I want a defensive lineup. Somebody where you can place and make sure that Isaac Okoro is on the floor to help out on a Darius Garland. Maybe you might have to pair Darius Garland with an Isaac Okoro. You give up a little bit of something with the offense with Okoro, but you also keep people out of the paint with Darius Garland. So I think there's these small little tinkering lineups that they want to do. And 2, I think, and I'm not just saying this just because I'm saying this, you're going down the backstretch. This is a good opportunity to give guys like Sam Merrill playing time, to give guys like Imani Bates playing time, to give guys like Craig Porter Jr. playing time. Because guess what? If you're going to have this time, the Cavs are 1 or 2 injuries away from what happens if Darius Garland goes down for 10 games, 15 games. You need to get somebody to do some playing time. And think about it like this, McNuggets. Sometimes in the playoffs, you just want to spark.
Yeah.
Hey, come on over here and come over here and let's take a look at the spark and see if you can hit a couple threes and get a spark off the bench. So I'm trying to see some of the little nuances, and at the same time, try to figure out these lineups that you can run that you're going to need against the Bostons if you're going to make a big run.
I like what G said about getting certain players enough minutes to see if they can truly be part of a playoff rotation or
Right.
not. Hey, pull up my graphic real quick. These are the Cavs' 5 best lineups this season in terms of net rating with 2 caveats. They had to have at least 12 games played together, and what's the other caveat with me? They had to play 12 games together. What do you guys notice looking at this? These are all their initials, by the way. Obviously, I couldn't write all first and last names. What do y'all notice?
Isaac Okoro is in every last one of them.
And Jared Allen, Isaac Okoro, and Donovan Mitchell is in every lineup.
Bingo. Now, before you freak out because Evan Mobley and Darius Garland aren't in any of them, do not freak out because 2 reasons. 1, it had to be a minimum of 12 games, so they are just naturally out of a lot of them because they missed time. And 2, when the Cavs went on their massive win streak and were blowing teams out, which is why some of these numbers are inflated, those 2 were injured. My point of showing this is we know 4 players who will be on the court in crunch time for the Cavs. Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Jared Allen, and Evan Mobley. We know 4. Who's the 5th? And in their death lineup, in their crunch time 5, who will that 5th player be? And you got a bunch of different options.
I'm going to tell you
if
right
you
now.
go with Strus, it's a guy that you cannot leave alone. A guy that demands attention from the defense and provides defense, but he's an average defender. He's above average, but he's not great. You go with Okoro, who's their best perimeter defender, but still has to prove he can make shots in the postseason before they leave him alone.
He's been improved, though.
He has. Do you go with Niang, who's played in more playoff games than anyone else on the roster, who's a bit of a defensive liability in certain matchups, but from the corner, and I know he hasn't shot the ball great this season, historically at least, he's one of the best corner three-point shooters in all of basketball. So you got the playoff experience, and you have a guy who's a dead-eye shooter from the corner. You go with Dean Wade, more size. You got 3 guys 6'9" or above, can guard in almost any facet. You'll have the height advantage, who's also a shooter, part of their best plus minuses. Or do you go with Sam Merrill, who's just simply the best shooter on the team? What I need JB to figure out over the last 28, 29, 30 games, whatever the number is, you know the 4 guys. Who's the 5th? And you can get creative in figuring out when to insert different guys in, playing with different matchups. But to me, that's the number 1 question JB has to figure out between now and the end of the regular season. You know 4 of the 5, but who's the 5th? And are you comfortable changing up that 5th depending on matchups? That's what I want to find out.
Or is it the fact that who's ever shooting better, right?
Are you willing to go with 2 tied? Yeah.
Yeah, so they're like, if Dean Wade starts off and he's that guy, the shooter, he's not hitting, George Niang comes in. If George Niang ain't hitting, hey, we might have to go smaller. Max Strus going to have to stay in the game. I think that is one of the things that JB is going to have to really, I think, get better at, is understanding in crunch time, what move am I making and who am I going to give these minutes to today, like right now?
And I don't have an answer yet. For the record, I don't know who that best 5th is because those 4 players, the 4 main guys, haven't been healthy enough this season and in enough crunch time games to figure out what's the best matchup. And I would hope, and Earl, I'm curious what you think on this, I hope JB would go matchup dependent. If they got a guy on, let's say they're playing New York, for example, right? And they got OG, they got Bogdanovich, they got Randall and Mitchell on the court at the same time, you may need some more size. Would you be willing to go with Dean Wade even though he's not your best plus-minus guy in that situation? Or do you go with Okoro to guard Brunson? Do you think JB will be flexible enough down the stretch?
I hope so.
As opposed to just finding that one guy that every night, this is my closing 5?
I hope so. I think the best coaches are flexible. I think that once you assess the situation at hand and you can make the adjustments to whatever adjustments in the said moment, that's the best way to go. Ideally for me, I hope the dude who steps up and continue to differentiate himself is Isaac Okoro.
Yep.
Like the last game that he played before we reached the All-Star break,
8
he
threes.
took and made career highs in 3-point shots. You see the dude shoot the ball with more confidence every single time. He is the best perimeter defender that we have on this team. me and Mike talked about this a couple Sundays ago. We have heard a lot about how hard Isaac Okoro works. Always the first dude in, last dude out, right? And for me, I appreciate somebody that's willing to put in the work, that's willing to grind like that. And he's starting to turn into a dude that was a top 5 pick and that you getting return on investment from, right? And it's simply because he's putting in that work. And if that dude in particular continues to do the things that he's doing and can prove himself come playoffs, that makes the Cavaliers way more dangerous than what they currently is right now before they even tip off on Thursday.
I think one of the substitution pattern, and I think people need to wrap their minds around it. I truly believe that one of the lineups that you're going to see a lot is if they go play the Knicks or somebody like that, you're going to see Isaac Okoro in the game. He'll follow Brunson around. Donovan Mitchell will be in the game as the point. You'll also have Harris LeVert in as a secondary ball handler that can get to the rim.
I forgot LeVert, but LeVert could be in that lineup
Right.
too. That was bad brain fart out of me. That's LeVert.
This is the reason why this even conversation even came up.
That was so
that's
cold.
a bad job out of me.
That was so cold. They both was like, oh,
so
Lord.
it's funny because you was talking about like JB, learning to adapt to the situation. And I heard this post conference a couple weeks ago where he talked about right now I got 10 to 11 dudes who deserve minutes. And there was a game in particular, I cannot remember.
LeVert
Washington, you were exactly what I was talking about.
In the second half.
Like, you got LeVert who's been balling and been doing his thing, but he seen someone else had the hot hand, and he didn't force playing Karis LeVert just because he had only played said amount of minutes.
Right.
And so to me, that's where JB has continued to show his growth, right? I know people feel like, well, he stumbled upon it. I think he stumbled upon the growth, but hey, it is what it is.
Growth is growth.
This is where we are now. So
Anthony Davis stumbled upon growing 8 inches from his Cleveland State commitment to his Kentucky. Are we gonna blame Anthony Davis?
No, stuff happens.
We haven't even seen, and we've seen Darius Garland not finishing games, but he had the last time we saw him, he had a pretty nice game. I thought he looked more like himself, but there are going to be times where he's not going to be able to be on the floor like that because, he's defensively, right?
Speaking of Darius Garland, let me tell you something. No, in all seriousness, though, I got to give that dude his kudos because I felt like he needed to come off the bench in order to get his groove back, and he proved me wrong. Like, I should have been more patient with him instead of trying to microwave the situation. With each passing game, you've seen the dude get better. You've seen him, be more confident. You started to see the scoring come back alive. Remember the Darius Garland of last year who used to dribble, then find somebody? This dude is playing more as a point guard that's a facilitator and not somebody that's just out there dribbling the basketball. I just see a lot of different things before we hit the All-Star break that makes me feel like, okay, I was wrong. He didn't need to come off the bench to kind of get his mojo back. It just needed to be more patient with him as he was patient and just not forcing anything, taking the right shots, making the right passes at said time. But when you called off Donovan Mitchell on Valentine's Day, Valentine's Day, and you had that type of confidence in yourself that hey, I got this, that shut me up. You was able to find Joe Mojo in the starting lineup, and you didn't have to come off the bench to do it. So I got to give you your flowers. That's one of those things to where I'm not mad I was wrong about.
Hey, when you're wrong, if you doubt someone on a team you root for and they prove you wrong, it's usually a good thing.
That's a good thing.
The answer to their Jason Lloyd says he hates calling it a death lineup because that's a disservice to how good the Warriors' death lineup truly was. So I'm going to call it their crunch time 5. The answer to their crunch time 5 is if Isaac Okoro is still making 40% of threes in the playoffs, that's the answer.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Nothing else matters at that point. But we got to see if he can make shots in the playoffs and whether or not teams will guard him. Because I can promise you right now, Isaac Okoro could shoot 50% from 3 from now to the end of the regular season. Game 1 of the postseason, no matter who they play, they're going to sag off him and make him shoot. So he's got to prove he can make it. And to your point about Darius Garland defensively, there are going to be some weird defensive matchups where Garland is going to have to prove his offense is better than what he's giving up defensively. Right. And luckily in the playoffs, and this is where having Mobley and Allen is a massive benefit, he just has to funnel them towards the paint and into the runner-up in Defensive Player of the Year last year, Jared Allen, who, in my opinion, is a tier below Mobley, but in that same conversation of great, not necessarily even rim protectors, but just always in the right spot, help defenders. He just can't get cooked. And that's all I'm asking. You don't have to be a Curl. You don't have to be Mobley. You don't have to be Marcus Smart or Tony Allen from back in the day. You just can't get cooked. And if you funnel guys to the middle, where you have Allen and Mobley and even, depending on the matchups, but a Curl waiting for you there, you can live with that. But they do have some tough matchups size-wise.
This might be a situation, though, with him to where, like, I agree with you. You can't get cooked, but his best defense might be his offense.
That's what I'm saying.
Because if Darius Garland can go get you 30, you know what I mean? Like, now your opponent exalting energy on the side of the ball
that's why
to where
he's always in the crunch time 5. He's always, and no matter how you look at it, unless it's a one-off defensive possession, 7 seconds left, Knicks have the ball or Celtics have the ball, he's got to be there because what he brings offensively, they just can't replicate.
I just like we talk a lot about defense, and I know defense matters more in the playoffs. I'm not going to say it don't matter or I'm not concerned about it. I just know that last year the Cavs was one of the best defensive teams in the NBA all year round, and it didn't matter. And so at the end of the day,
their defense was fine in the postseason.
It was fine, but it didn't matter to like when we needed to go get a bucket. And so even if he is a liability on defense, the fact that he can go get a bucket,
he's got to be on the court.
That's your best defense right
exactly.
there. Just go score.
And looking at the main competitors, like, if he plays Boston and Drew Holiday and Jaylen Brown, you're going to have a little bit of problem. Or if you play the Milwaukee Bucks, it's not even that big of a deal because on the other end, Dame's not going to do it.
It's New York and Boston. Those are the two. And that's a tough matchup for anyone in the league. That's not a Cleveland-specific issue. That's they built their teams to be supersized.
Yeah.
And Jalen Brunson's tiny, relative terms.
Yeah.
The next 4 guys on the court are 6'8" or taller. Like, that's just a tough matchup to deal with.
And to me, the toughest matchup out of anything is the Knicks. I don't think about the Celtics because I think that you can almost get Jaylen Brown and Tatum to just start jacking up shots. And they're not going to take advantage of the fact that Porzingis is down there on a guy or catches him on a switch.
He's been so good this season.
And so I'm like, those dudes, those are the dudes that kill you. It's the Drew Holidays and the Whites and the Porzingis that I believe that have just basically those matchups the Cavs don't have very much for.
One more thing to watch before we pivot to your Black History Month spotlight. We'll bring Jason on. I don't think when the playoff rotation comes around, Niang and Wade will both be in it.
No.
It's one or the other. And that's going to be a hell of a battle between those two individually to prove to JB who will get those minutes in the postseason in that 8. And I'm telling y'all right now, they have 11 guys who could play, 12 if you count Tristan Thompson. Only 8 are going to play in the playoffs more than like 2 minutes. You may get a guy for 2 minutes. Seeing which one of those two down the stretch is playing better and fitting better into their offensive system is going to be a fun little subplot to watch as the Cavs continue to go. And do we have a read before Jason and Black History Month, or are we going straight to Earl?
No, we'll just go straight to Earl, and then I'll do our next read before Jason.
Earl, enlighten us today, my friend.
All right, so I thought this one was pretty cool because, this woman clearly was Venus Williams before Venus Williams. But today we're going to spotlight Althea Gibson, who in 1950 became the first black female tennis player. She was one of the first women to cross color barriers in professional sports, became the first black woman to win a Grand Slam title when she won the French Open in 1956. She also was the first black woman to be ranked number 1 in the world in 1957. Depending on what you read, a lot of people would tell you it was Venus Williams, but it was Venus Williams in a modern era. She would go on to capture a title in each of the Grand Slam tournaments for a grand total of 11. She also competed on the LPGA Tour in 1964.
That's crazy.
Becoming the first woman ever to compete professionally in both tennis and in golf. So today, man, we give our flowers to Althea Gibson.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You play golf and tennis?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is just like, we all know the Williams sisters, and for a lot of people, it's like, that's the standard, man. But this woman, like she was the trendsetter. She was the one who really started this whole thing. And here it is, another black athlete in a time frame to where, like, it was so hard for you to just get recognition, to get treated fairly on a normal basis. And I think what makes this so cool is because she's a black woman. Like, it's hard for women in this country, like, in general, right? And I can only imagine if it was hard for black men in 1950, just how the hell hard was it for a black woman in 1950? And for her to accomplish the things that she accomplished, like breaking and jumping, racial barriers and gender barriers. Like, kudos to her. Like, it takes some type of woman to be able to do what she did at said time.
It is crazy. I'll be honest, I was completely unaware of her before our meeting this morning, but to go back and be a tennis champion and compete in professional golf, which two completely different skill sets, by the way. That's not like, oh, because you do one, you naturally should be good at the other. That's apples and oranges. And to be as successful as she was in both of those in an era where any type of success was rare.
Yeah.
Hats off, kudos to you.
Like
that's beyond impressive.
I'm gonna start going around telling people Venus who. But no, I thought that was cool because, like, Serena Williams is one of my favorite athletes, like, of all time. Like, Serena Williams is on my bucket list of people to interview before my career is over.
Yeah.
So.
Well, she's on the Mount Rushmore of all-time GOATs in all sports.
Yo, me and you got she's on my Mount Rushmore too.
She's in the conversation. I don't know who's on.
No, she's on mine.
But she's certainly in the conversation.
I'll give you two. I'll give you three. That's on mine. Michael Jordan, Muhammad Ali, Serena Williams.
I mean, that's one of those debates that we could do a whole show on.
Yeah.
Like, we do a whole on your four greatest athletes of all time. LeBron being in contention for that spot.
Yeah, we listen. By the way, Anthony getting y'all boys up out of here, man. Y'all boys in the chat better behave. Y'all, everybody got a comment during Black History Month. Y'all better be cool.
Hey, G, instantly went to look at the comments.
Hey, I was like, listen, we checking. We will get you up out of here.
Well, speaking of, real quick, we're still waiting on Jason, right?
Yeah, Jason is stuck in a meeting right now, so
let's
he asked
do
us to stall
LeBron
for about
topic,
5
and we'll
to
get
10
to
minutes.
Jason. LeBron, are we cool with that, Ant? You got to read first?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so LeBron said at All-Star Weekend that he's not sure if he wants to have a Kobe Bryant-esque retirement tour, a season-long celebration of his career, or if he wants to, quote, go out like Duncan, quote, which means I'm just going to walk away. I'm not going to tell anybody about it. I'm just going to retire. That'll be it. I have a couple thoughts on this. I'm curious if you guys do as well. Should I start?
Yeah, you start.
So, Earl, you are very adamant about believing what players say because you don't speak to them yourselves. That's all you got to go off of, right?
Not just players, people in general.
People in general.
Like
GMs, if Andrew Berry says something,
I got to take you at face value for what you said until I can't.
I think that's very admirable. And I'm going to tell you right now, LeBron James is straight up lying to your damn face. There is not a chance in hell LeBron James doesn't throw the world's biggest, greatest farewell tour the NBA, the NFL, Major League Baseball has ever seen. He said in that same press conference, he's not good at the praise he gets. My dude has the chosen one in size 600 font tattooed across his chest. LeBron, you deserve all of it. You deserve a 164-game celebration tour, farewell tour if you want it. You are the best basketball player to ever live. And what you've done for 22, 23, whatever it'll be years, deserves every last ounce of praise and recognition you get. But to sit up there and say, I'm not sure I want the praise, I'm not sure I want to go through and have everybody tell me how great I am in every city and get presents from the other teams and have all their legends come out and we'll take a dope Instagram picture, like, LeBron, it's a GOAT. You might be on my Mount Rushmore of all-time athletes, but get the you-know-what out of here with that bull crap. That is the biggest bold-faced lie in the history of the world, Earl. And if you believe him, I'm calling cap on you.
Okay, so I ain't going to say no names, but we was in the chat, right? And I think the only thing that triggered me was the fact that, like, you know, when LeBron said that he's uncomfortable receiving, like, recognition and praise. Mm-hmm. He has a hard time receiving that. I don't think that's far-fetched to believe. Here's why.
He stopped the whole game against the Thunder when he broke the scoring record.
But here's why, though.
He stopped the whole game.
They should have.
I agree. That's what I'm saying.
But here's why.
He made sure that they won the first in-season tournament.
But just because he got chosen one tattooed on his chest, right? Like, that's one thing. I might think I'm really, really good at what I do. And in my own little community, when we amongst ourselves, I might say, yeah, I'm good. I'm damn good. And I know I'm going to be great at this one day, right? That hits a whole lot different than somebody else telling me, hey, you know what, Earl, I think you good. I think you're going to be great one day. Receiving that, like, from somebody else don't always hit the same and it's
Right.
not always as comfortable as you believing it in yourself. As long as you believe in yourself that you are the dog
shit.
crap,
You can say
the
it.
shit.
It's YouTube.
Okay, as long as you believe you the shit, then who cares if like if somebody else think it or don't think it? As long as you believe it, like just understand, like, you know, have some humbleness to yourself. I didn't think it was the most craziest thing for him to say. Now, with that being said, man, this is gonna be bigger than a party that Big Meech threw before he moved to Atlanta.
I really thought you were about to go to the I was gonna lose my mind early.
Listen, this is gonna be that big. Like,
and he deserves it.
like he deserves
it.
Man, he deserves every single applause, every single like round of flowers, everything. Like, if you really think about LeBron James' career and the expectations that were set on LeBron James' career and the fact that he has surpassed every single expectation there was, the difference between LeBron, Kobe, and Mike really, really had to work at being great. It was expected that LeBron James was going to be great as soon as he put the jersey on. You see what I'm saying? So, like, if the dude wants to take a victory lap or a farewell tour, you've earned it. But don't say, like, because he feel that way, that's the most asinine thing that you ever heard.
I got a conspiracy theory about it. For me, I think he says this, and he says this because in his heart that he believes, like, look, I'm not a person who is getting my just desserts. I think LeBron feels celebrated in LA. Mm-hmm. I think he feels under respected. I don't know if that's a word, but Kobe got a statue. Shaq got the statue.
Yep.
Magic got the statue.
Yep.
LeBron, Kareem. He's never, even Wilt Chamberlain. He's never Jerry West. He's not even really in their top 10 as far as the Laker culture goes. I think when he went there and he won the championship, he felt it was going to be more. They devalued it and said it was a COVID championship.
Yep.
He was the all-time leading scorer, and instead of them giving him flowers for taking care of his body, eating right, being a physical specimen and working hard, they just say he's naturally gifted over Michael Jordan, right? Yep. And so, Michael Jordan didn't play, he had the advantage of playing and coming into the league, when he was 18, Jordan stayed in college. Well, that's because he wasn't better than Michael Jordan wasn't better than LeBron at 18. Like, that's just a reality. If he was that good, he would have been in the league getting them buckets, but he wasn't. I think LeBron feels and realizes, like, man, it ain't the same. Like, if he would have stayed in Cleveland, especially the second time, he would have been celebrated at a higher level than he is today. Because we would have put him on that pedestal and said, nah, this is the greatest dude of all time.
And that's why I think the farewell tour not only deserves, it's going to happen because to everything you said, G, he feels, and I think to an extent, and this is crazy to say, rightfully so in some regards, underappreciated in the grand scheme of what he's accomplished. And you look at all of LeBron's accomplishments. His resume is like 6 foot,
it's crazy.
6 feet long, seriously,
Crazy.
Everything he's done. Maybe the most impressive part of LeBron's entire career, his entire athletic prowess was at 15, he was tabbed the one. Mm-hmm. You're next up. You're the chosen one, right? He's not only lived up to every expectation, even the craziest, highest, wildest expectations they put out there for him. He's broke that glass ceiling and is continuing to ascend. And you look at all the guys who we tab as he's next up. Like Wemby, for example, right? Who's had a great rookie season. Do you know how good and how long Wemby has to play in the NBA?
Forever.
To just even come into the conversation with LeBron. Like, the fact he's done it for so long and has never really slipped up, to me, that's literally the most impressive thing LeBron's
I kid
done.
you not, man. I was thinking about this the other day. Like, damn, I've really been watching LeBron James play my whole life. And if anybody that's from Northeast Ohio, like same with you, like the first time I ever seen LeBron James play in person was in high school on a football field. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, you saw him play
like
football.
Yeah, like what I'm saying is like just LeBron James in general in Northeast Ohio. Like before like Slam magazine and everything was kind of getting hip to LeBron, 17 years old. We was already hip to what was going on. So to be watching him play multiple sports for this long and to be playing at this high of a level still, it's just so crazy. Like, this is a dude, like, who deserves everything that he's going to have coming his way once he decides to hang it up. The only thing that bothered me was, it's like, and it's not because he an athlete. I just got a problem, like, anytime people feel like they need to call bullshit on how somebody else feel about themselves if you don't know that person. If the man says he's uncomfortable, like, receiving praise, then, okay, he uncomfortable receiving praise. I don't know LeBron James to not take his word at face value when it comes to that. You see what I'm saying? Now, we can sit up here and give our opinions on the basketball side of things and what he do on the basketball court, but I don't know that, man. Like some things.
I'm just going off past actions.
I feel that, man, but it's just like.
Like, you're right. I've only met LeBron once.
Yeah, like that's like somebody saying, like, man, how you gonna tell me how I feel about? How you gonna tell me internally how I feel about something?
We can ask Jason in a sec when Jason hops on.
You know what I mean? Like,
because he actually does know,
Jason is the biggest.
He does know LeBron.
So like that was just kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, they got a very special relationship. We got Jason yet?
No, not yet. So Jason's dealing with some connectivity problems out there at spring training. But I do have a question for you guys. I'm sorry if I missed it while I was working with Jason. What do you think the ticket prices in Cleveland will be during his farewell tour when he comes through?
What'd you say?
And what do you think these ticket prices will even? Well,
I know it'll be $20 off if you use Game Time. Download.
That's true too. But we'll get to that read in a minute.
We're talking like courtside.
I'm talking like anywhere, nosebleeds even.
Upper deck then to just make it even. So for example, upper deck tickets to the Bulls game last Wednesday were anywhere from $22 to like $73, $74. It's got to be $400.
While we waiting on Jason, I do want to respond to something G said. I think that if LeBron went to LA and had this expectation that he was going to be viewed in a certain light, then that was unrealistic, because even before he went there, you heard Magic Johnson say a long time ago, like, Kobe is the greatest Laker ever, and that's Kobe's town. Now, depending on what era and who you talk to, people might say, no, the greatest Laker ever is Magic or Kareem, and this is their town and this is their team. Lifers. Even before Kobe passed away, like, LeBron was never really accepted because this is Kobe Bryant's town. And so, like, after Kobe tragically passed away, there was nothing in the world that LeBron was going to ever be able to do.
He could win 5 in a row.
To be, like, validated as, I'm a Laker at heart. And it's funny because we have a lot of conversations when we hear LeBron speak about his different places he's played at, his different tenures in the course of his career. I don't think he had ever flat out just say it, but I think he enjoyed himself most here. I think his memories that he created here in Cleveland are the ones that's most special to him, the ones that resonate with him the most. You can see it in his body language when he talk. Meanwhile, like, he act like the Miami Heat version of himself never existed.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like the best version of LeBron's basketball form just didn't exist.
We got Jason Lloyd here, so Ant, do a read, and we'll bring in Jason from sunny Arizona.
Yeah, and like Mike said, and you gotta go to Game Time if you're gonna go get tickets for this farewell tour. It takes all the guesswork out. You can download the Game Time app, you create an account, and you use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Guardian single season tickets are also on sale. You can go to Game Time for those too. I know I'm looking to get the May 4th tickets. I want that Obi-Wan Kenobi bobblehead for my collection. So use Game Time, code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase.
And let's welcome in Jason. Jason, before we talk Guardians, we were just talking LeBron and whether or not we think he'll throw himself a farewell tour. You know him better than all of us combined. Will LeBron throw himself a farewell tour, or is there any chance he will Tim Duncan it and just disappear into the sunset?
Of course he's throwing a farewell tour. Yes. Yes. LeBron loves to be loved, and he would not mind 29 different franchises and cities showing him how much they appreciate what he's done for the game. There will be a farewell tour, yes.
All right, so you're in agreement with all of us, Jason. Just wanted to get that on the record. You were out in Arizona for spring training, Jason. Have you had a chance to evaluate and or observe any differences yet in how Stephen Vogt's running the show as opposed to how Terry Francona had for so long with the Guardians?
It's real early out here. Like, it's still in workout mode. Pitchers are throwing bullpens. They don't play games until I think this weekend is the first spring training game. So it's very early, but we talk to people who have been part of the organization for years. There is a different vibe out here just because everything is new. It's not just Steven. It's a new bench coach. It's new. hitting department for the most part. Chris Valleca is still here as a hitting coach, and Carl Willis is still here as a pitching coach, but that's it. And Carl, everybody is mentioning Carl as someone that they're really relying on. You know, Carl's 61, 63 years old, something like that. His first year as pitching coach here with Cleveland, the first time around, Stephen Vogt was a senior in high school. So that just puts into perspective how long Carl's been doing this and how long he's been around. So, you know, Carl carries a lot of weight around here and carries a very large voice and is relied on in terms of how to put this thing together. But it's just a different vibe. It's young. It's definitely younger, more energy involved. And I mean, now they got to go out and compete, and obviously they got to perform well and win. But people are very much reinvigorated around here. And I mean, there's nothing against Tito. Obviously, he's a legend. But, you know, after a while, it just becomes routine, and it becomes the same thing over and over and over again. And so it's an organization that probably needed an infusion of some new life and some new blood.
Jason, what's up, brother? First things first, man. I need a shot glass when you're on your way back to Cleveland. Second thing, so we was talking about this yesterday, and you know about the Dolans not spending money and wanting to see these young prospects develop to see what they have. And I was kind of irritated about it. I'm not the biggest baseball savant, but with Stephen Vogt in as the new manager, you know, the second year playing under the new rules in MLB with this young infusion of talent, does this have the chance to be a better fit, a better mesh versus than what it was last year with Tito?
It's so hard to say. And to the point you're referencing about, you know, some of the comments that Chris made a few days ago on they got to give the chance for the young guys to play. Well, they said that 2 years ago, and it worked out to their favor. And that's when, you know, they had to get a look at Stephen Kwan, and they had to get a look at some of these other younger players and see if they could help them. Andres Jimenez being another one, and see if they were part of the future here. And it worked to their advantage. And then last year they tried to get aggressive. They went into free agency, and it blew up on them with Zunino and Josh Bell. So now here they are pivoting back to we got a bunch of young guys to play. The difference this time around, maybe I'm wrong, but you know, when you look at Estevan Florial, Ramon Laureano is not a young guy by any means. Will Brennan probably is a fourth outfielder at best. I know Mike loves him, but it's probably his role is it's a fourth outfielder. So I don't know that you can make the same argument that you did 2 years ago. Now there are some other guys. If George Valera can ever get healthy and come up, you know, he's a name that's been on prospect list for years. Kyle Manzardo will be here eventually, I think, as a first baseman DH type. I don't think it'll be right away. And they'll probably start the year with him in the minors and bring him up around late April, early May, if I had to guess. But it is discouraging. I got a lot of thoughts on this. I haven't written about it yet. There's a lot I want to write on this, and I could probably talk a little bit more freely about it after I write about it. But it leaves a bad taste in your mouth, and it feels like a lot of the teams this year could have done more and didn't.
You know, Jason, one of the things that we had Will Brennan on the other day, and he made it seem like there was a major shift in the philosophy at the plate. Guys are going to be, you know, trying to improve their power numbers. And, you know, I asked him this question, is that something that you either have or you don't? I see a lot of major league pitchers who are now increasing their velocity, you know, 2-3 miles an hour. There's guys all over the internet are doing that. Is that something that teams are working on now that can improve power, or do you believe that's just something you're either born with or you got it or you don't?
Well, it's really interesting you asked that because I'm actually working on a piece now on the decline in switch hitters in baseball, and it'll probably run in a few days, but this is the lowest number of switch hitters in baseball in 50 years. And if you look at American-born players, it's the lowest number in 60 years. And guys just aren't doing it anymore. And I was at Reds camp the other day, and I was talking to Eric Davis about it, and he said this, and he's a different generation, obviously, and he said that this is a generation that has lost the ability to hit because everyone is just trying to hit the ball out of the park. And they changed the way that they teach how to hit. And it's all about launch angle, and it's all about hitting the ball out of the park. And, if, you know, one of the most popular hitting instructors on YouTube is a guy called Teacher Man who taught Aaron Judge how to hit. And I'm like really into this now, right? Because I got a 13-year-old who's coming into this and taking baseball very seriously. So he's at the lab 3-4 days a week now, hitting baseballs and play and learning how to hit. And so I'm very much invested in this sort of thing. And I was talking to some players today who are like, Teacher Man did not teach Aaron Judge how to hit. Aaron Judge taught Aaron Judge how to hit. Aaron Judge had more to do with it than anybody else. But they teach this style now of snap your wrists and fly back and just hit up. And, Josh Naylor was saying back in AA or AAA, the Astros affiliate they were playing when Miles Straw was on that team and Kyle Tucker was down there. And he said they didn't even take batting practice. They had these PVC pipes and this is all they were doing. And he said they were mashing, and but it takes away. Eric Davis's point was you don't understand how to hit. You're not actually a good hitter. You're just trying to hit the ball out of the park. And Eric Davis was naming names, and he said Joey Gallo could still be playing in this league if he ever bothered to learn how to hit. If he could hit 270 and hit 10 to 12 home runs less a year, he'd play till he was 38, 39 years old. But he's out of the league already because all he ever tried to do was hit home runs, and so it's a long conversation with a lot of parts to this whole thing. But to answer your question, G, I don't, the guys I've talked to don't think it's coming back. Like this is the way it is, and because of velocity, because the game has changed and everything else, everybody tries to hit the ball out of the park. And I don't know if we're ever going back to the Harvey Wallbanger days. Now the Guardians do things a little differently. The Guardians seem to identify contact hitters, which is the exact opposite of what we're talking about. But they tend to identify contact and they want to try and build the power from there. But they want guys who can put the bat on the ball. And we're still a little early to know how successful they're going to be. They've had mixed results to this point. Owen Miller didn't work out. Stephen Kwan did. We'll see some of the other guys here that fit that profile now of like Tyler Freeman. Does he earn an everyday job? So we'll see. But it's certainly obvious. It feels like that the Guardians are going in a different direction than a lot of teams around baseball, just trying to hit the ball out of the park. They seek contact and try and build power from there.
In that same vein, Jason, if you had to bet your life savings on one of these young Guardians bats to develop into a legit middle of the lineup hitter this season, who would you bet on?
Young Guardian bat to develop into a legit middle of the lineup lineup hitter. Like Kyle Manzardo will get there, but I don't know that he's a 30, 35 homer guy. It's tough. It's really tough to sit here. I mean, I was talking to Zach Meisel about it today. If Junior Caminero was still in this organization, he'd be batting third and, playing right field.
Yeah.
And now he's one of Tampa's top prospects, hits the ball over 100 miles an hour every time he hits it. And that's the kind of deal that'll haunt him. Chase DeLauder, I think, has a chance, but he's not going to start up. He's going to start in AAA. We're not going to see him for a while. I don't know that they do have a guy who you look at right now and circle and say that guy's going to be a legitimate 30 home run threat this summer. I don't see it, and it's the, the infield's pretty well set. You got Hosey at third. You know what he is. He's obviously not an emerging player though. They got to figure out shortstop between Rocchio and Arias. If Arias sort of falls in that all or nothing category where he's got power, but some of his bat to ball skills are lacking. If he could hit the ball a little bit more consistently and take hold of that job, there's some power in there, but he's yet to really do that. Jimenez at second is fine. I think if ultimately they don't settle on either shortstop and they like Juan Brito best, who they got for Nolan Jones, Brito could be second. They could put him at second and slide Jimenez to short. First is pretty well covered right now with Naylor and eventually Manzardo. And then the outfield is just a crapshoot. It's a lot of bodies, and that's what this spring is for, is to figure out who can play and who can't. Miles Straw's got to compete for the job. Chris Valleca said that he was the first one that I can recall in an official capacity saying on the record, Miles Straw has to win a job this year. He has to compete for his playing time now, whereas before that was never really the case. Estevan Florio, Ramon Laureano, Will Brennan, none of these guys are big-time power hitters who can emerge as middle-of-the-lineup bats. So it's an issue.
Awesome. That's Jason Lloyd from Spring Training. He'll be out there all week. He's on the Ultimate Cav Show tonight at 6. Jason, answer my text on what you want to do for the third topic. Still waiting to hear back from you on that.
It's been a busy day.
That'll be 6 o'clock tonight. Jason, appreciate you as always, and enjoy the sun for us, my friend.
All right. See you guys.
Awesome.
All right.
Oh, coming up in overtime in about 2 minutes, a crazy video that sparked a hell of a discussion pre-show that G has no idea what it's about. And I cannot wait to see how G reacts
None at all.
when he sees this video.
See everybody in overtime.
Peace.
Peace.